The podcast on Haunted Hill will contain spoilers and swearing.
I am the devil, and I am here to do the devil's work.
Make some of this, Michael. Be one of us.
I didn't tell you my name.
Hang up.
I didn't tell them my name.
They're all a part of it. They're all parts of
Come. It is time to keep your appointment.
Hello and welcome to the podcast on Haunted Hill, episode 174. My name is Gav.
My name is Dan.
We are
174. We know you wanted more.
4 to the floor, hardcore.
You know the score.
Yeah. Anyway, me and Dan's rave podcast, 90s Rave, is kicking off today. We're starting with The Prodigy. We're going to talk about The Prodigy.
Get your whistles out.
Get some hardcore going. Some white gloves.
Yeah. Take some ecstasy.
I was never into rave, actually. I never went to a rave or a free party or any of that sort of stuff. Did you?
I'm from Bristol, and
I'm sure there's many a warehouse party.
We invented free parties in Bristol,
yeah.
Under the suspension bridge, in random fields. I've been to a few. I obviously, as our listeners will know, I'm a hip hop head, much like you. But I did dabble in rave, certainly between sort of 16 and 18 when I'd left school. Because you couldn't go to a hip-hop event really back then, but you could go to a rave. And I didn't
illegal
mind.
raves, yeah.
Some of the rave music was all right back then as well.
Oh,
I
don't mind. Yeah.
But we're not here to talk about rave, are we, Gav?
No, not at all. I used to go to sort of the Sausage Fest hip-hop. You're basically, there'd be a little hip-hop event somewhere in a side room of a pub. That's always where it was, and it's just full of men with one token woman, and you just feel so sorry for that poor lady, you know. And it's just all men, Sausage Fest, because that's all hip hop was. That was it. Yeah.
Well, the last time I went to a hip hop gig with you was House of Pain.
That was amazing. And
Danny Boy got the shits, so he didn't perform. So it was just Everlast and DJ Lethal, which is fine.
I was happy with that because he did a lot of his solo stuff.
Yeah,
so that's quite good.
And talking of hip hop, just very quickly, Onyx were in Bristol last month.
Oh yeah. And
KRS-One is in Bristol in the next month or so, and the Wu-Tang Clan. They're all coming to my city.
Yeah, I actually saw Onyx. Deadbolt's at your city this weekend as well. They're a comic festival. I actually thought the other day, I'm going to listen to Onyx back the fuck up. So I put the album on Spotify while I was driving along. But no, I listened and I was like, next track. The first Slam, that's all right.
Slam is the best song on the
album. And when it
album.
comes down to it, you're like, it's not really, they're just...
I really like that album, and it's one of the few I kept, because I'm going through my hip-hop albums and binning anything that...
Yeah.
I don't...
It's all right, there's a few okay, but it's nothing, it's not...
There's a lot of N-words and a lot of
Wu-Tang.
Women hating.
Well, unfortunately, it's a day and era we live in now. We can't sort of just go back and listen to those songs. You're like, oh, because my kids be in the car going, don't like the songs that you listen to, especially. And I was like, yeah.
I just imagine my kids picking up some CDs and going, Dad, what's this NWA? Dad, what's this Onyx? Back the fuck up. Can you
NWA. Oh no, I was gonna say the fuck the police stuff's absolutely fine. I don't mind my kids hearing that shit.
Yeah, but there's a lot of other rapey stuff.
But it is the other stuff. Anyway,
enough of that.
We're a horror podcast. I hope everyone's safe in the world and everybody's dandy and happy and gay.
And if you're a regular listener,
welcome back.
If you're new to the podcast, welcome friend. And if you just pop along now and again,
side up down,
just pop into the side, come the side entrance. Yes, this episode is
groovy, baby.
It is groovy. We don't do it's not an Austin Powers special. That'd be weird, isn't it? We're doing the Austin Powers trilogy. Gav told me
what if Mike Myers actually, we could see now with the AI, what if we could actually put Mike Myers in as Ash in the Evil Dead movies?
Or what if we could put Mike Myers as Michael Myers?
No. I just want him doing groovy, baby. That's the only line to hear.
But yeah, we're not doing Austin Powers. We are doing something we don't do very often, an actor special.
Yeah.
And as you'll know from Groovy, it's the horror icon himself, Mr. Big Old Chin, Mr. Bruce Campbell. Bruce Lorne Campbell. That's his full name.
Yeah, Bruce Campbell. Bruce is an ambassador to B-movie horror. He really is, isn't he? It's really funny, though, because I watched him in Army of Darkness. He's quite
He's so
chiseled,
handsome,
traditionally
really
handsome character. And you could see how he could lead a movie, but I guess not enough to lead an A movie, like, because he never did like the big movie. And I was really disappointed when they did that. Hi, my name is Bruce. I was like, great, this is gonna be like JVCD, where it's the actor playing themselves. JCVD is Jean-Claude Van Damme, initials obviously, but that was a movie. Really, it's him playing him. That's why it's called that. And my name is Bruce. I thought this is the opportunity for Bruce Campbell to play in a really good movie, playing himself. I thought, this is perfect, and it was just not very good, and it was such a disappointment.
I really enjoyed it.
Really? Oh god. Yeah. No. It was just like it was.
But it's been years since I watched it.
It was just almost like a parody of himself. It was just him just doing that. It's like, I just wanted you to break that mold.
Well, we'll talk about Bruce in more depth. We'll get in deep with Bruce later when we go through into his back catalogue. We'll get deep into him then.
It's a new section, Deep with Bruce.
But before we talk about Bruce Campbell, I should also mention we picked two of his movies to watch and review. We're going to be covering the classic and the only original Evil Dead movie we haven't covered in 11 years. We're going to be covering Army of Darkness from 1992. Possibly his comic masterpiece, some might say. Certainly his first sort of leading man film, probably his only leading man film really, where he's really sort of leading a big budget movie. And I say big budget, it's not huge, but it's a budget.
It's quite epic though in scale, and it comes across as quite a big film, for sure.
Harryhausen sort of all the way through. And we'll be also covering, thank you very much, Bubba Ho-Tep.
Yeah, Bubba Ho-Tep. Which is a really interesting. I think he fits the
I went
the
to
role
see that
really
at
well.
cinema, and I was like, "You telling me Bruce Campbell plays Elvis in a horror film?" I'm there. It was years since I watched it.
Yeah, and not just that; it's the concept as well.
Yeah,
it's brilliant. It's such a great concept. Watched it again this time though. I know we're not starting a review now, but watched it again this time though. I didn't feel it was as good as when I first watched it.
Certainly a very unique movie though, and showcases Bruce's
range.
Yeah, and the fact that he just quite literally, unfortunately, throws himself, or Sam Raimi throws him into everything and anything that he does. But we'll get into Bruce, like we said. But that's what we're covering: Bubba Ho-Tep, Army of Darkness, aka The Evil Dead 3. In the meantime, let's talk about what we've been watching, what we've been doing, what we haven't been doing. What the fuck's going on, Gav?
I saw on Facebook, because for a while I was feeding Hungary with Blu-rays.
Oh, yeah. You might need to explain that to our listeners. That sounds weird.
For a little while, I was just picking up ridiculously, like, at a time, like 300 or so Blu-rays at a time in a box for, like, next to nothing, like next to no money at all, just randomly. I'll be like, I'll go along and buy these. And this woman's like, yes, my husband died. Here, take all these movies for £25. Like, boxes and boxes and boxes of, like, HD still books and just all this massive collection. I was like, what the fuck? I felt so bad. I gave some money to charity as well because I was just like, this is just... But it was a really posh house anyway. She had loads of money. It was a massive house. I don't think she really give it... No, but I don't think she really give a shit. But I feel bad for the guy's collection, because I'm a collector myself.
But it goes to a good home.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I've absorbed quite a few of them. So I did that for a little while, and then for some reason, some guy with the ones I didn't want, some guy from Hungary would be buying the movies off me in bulk, Blu-rays in bulk, and then taking them, driving them over the border to Hungary and stuff to distribute. And we did it a couple of times. So I was distributing Hungary of Blu-rays. It's really fucking weird. Anyway, the other day, some guy in Windsor, he's just like, where the castle is. He actually worked at Hammer Studios and stuff like that. He's actually a delivery driver. 4 films. He was selling a shitload of movies, so I went along to get them. Bit weird though, when I turned up, he's like, there you go. And I was like, well, that's the box, and there's a few films in there. What's? And he's like, oh yeah, some are sold. What do you mean some have sold? That's a bit like, that's really random. I was going to buy a big load of films off you, and you've just sold some. Like, okay, yeah, I don't think your description is very. I don't know. It's a bit confusing. So I was like, right, and I was like, nah, I don't really want them. So there's, oh, hang on, and just went upstairs and just kept bringing me down loads and loads of movies and put them in like the Puppet Master box set, all the films randomly. But I don't really want it, so I'll probably flog it. Anyway, I got a load of films. A lot of them are rape revenge films. Don't know why. It's a bit weird, but
That's Windsor.
seems to be the case. Not all of them though. I'm not just going to talk about that, but I'm going to talk about the films. So I took Sarah just bags and bags of DVDs. I was like, choose your films you want to watch this weekend. So we started the day off early, I think, with Tower of Evil. Do you know Tower of Evil?
I've heard of it.
It's a British movie. It's got the dude on it.
Recognise it.
You know the dude from the Confessions of a Babysitter? No, Confessions of a
Taxi
Plumber.
driver, window cleaner. Yeah.
He's in it, but his voice was dubbed over. But this is it's about witchcraft, but on an island. It's a British movie from the 70s. Decent, worth watching. I'm going to say. I feel like I'm doing a YouTube channel right now.
Weird connection there, because when I was younger, I recorded American Werewolf in London off of Channel 4, and I just went to bed, pressed record. I didn't set it up to stop. And in the morning when I was like, oh, watch the movie, watched it, and then afterwards it had recorded the next thing that was on.
What? Hang on, sorry to interrupt. Wasn't that the worst though? When you're like, oh cool, wonder what this is, and you start watching something, then the tape stopped because it ran out. That's the worst.
I had about an hour of Confessions of a Window Cleaner. So I've only ever seen the first hour.
So you just had like boobs, 70s boobs.
And it's like a Carry-On movie, but with a little bit more.
It's a little bit more
boobs.
raunchy. It's more of a late night thing. It's weird. Anyway,
yeah.
after that we did this, which was fucking brilliant.
Yeah, I love Slugs.
You've seen Slugs?
Yeah, I love Slugs.
Loads of gore. That was really good. We did do that, Emmanuel and the Last Cannibals,
which I. Off air, I told you that I weirdly, for the first time ever, watched myself about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Loads of sex, loads of cannibals.
It's just bonking. Then there's just loads of gore.
What more do you want?
I know. Did that one I told you I was watching as well. New York Ripper. I started watching that again with the Donald Duck quacking away killer. Did do this.
Isn't that Tom Savini? Is he something to do with that?
Are you thinking?
Maybe not.
No, you're thinking of the other film what he did, where he blows the guy's head off.
Prowler. I'm thinking of Prowler.
He did Prowler as well. There's another. There's another one he did as well. Anyway, but it was. It's Lucio Fulci. Has loads of gore. So slicing the razor blade slicing through the nipple.
Yeah.
Which is that sort of stuff. Did another movie. This is a really interesting movie with Udo Kier.
Love Udo.
And Linda Hayden, who was Angel from Blood on Satan's Claw. This is the only British movie, it's called Expose, the only British film which was in the UK BBFC banned list of the 1980s. Everything else was European and American. And this is kind of like Straw Dogs in a way. Udo Kier is a writer, and he basically needs someone to narrate to. Nowadays, you just have a smartphone. But anyway, the lady, Angel from Blood on Satan's Claw, she goes down and she's his typist in his country house. It's just them. So obviously he gets it on with her. He's also got a woman wife that comes down, who they both go and get it on with, as you can see there.
Yep, fantastic.
And it's just loads of that. And then she does get raped in the field by a couple of farmers. You don't really see it, but all of a sudden, somehow, she managed to pull a shotgun around and shoot them and kill them, but we don't see that either. And the guy who was shot... he just must have been in the field for days, just bleeding out. Right at the end of it, he somehow manages to come along and kill her because she's having a fight right at the end of the film in the same field. And it's such a random movie, but I've never seen it, and kind of quite an interesting movie, really. Kind of like your English, kind of like your English Giallo. And the other one I watched was The Wages of Fear, which is the original of Sorcerer, which we covered. So
that
this
looks
is
good.
black and white. I'll keep it for you if you like. It's black and white French movie, but it has English acting, English dialogue as well. Because if you remember in Sorcerer, and if you go back, please and listen to our review or watch the movie, incredible movie by William Friedkin. In the original movie, it's different nationalities come together to do the drive through the jungle. Yeah, it's the same thing. The only difference I'd say is they have a massive stone they got to get rid of rather than a big tree.
Wow.
But they do the same principle. But I'll keep it for you because it's worth a watch. Because I don't think you'd see it. It's not a sort of thing on telly or, you know.
No, I probably never would watch that. So.
No, I was just at a charity shop one time and just picked it up. So I was like, yeah, fuck it, yeah, definitely. And it was worth a watch. It's the same film, but yeah, you know.
Busy boy, you've been watching a lot.
Yeah, funny enough, I managed to get away to see Sarah, which is very rare to see my girlfriend, but I managed to get away to see her, and when we get together we have a little holiday of just watching films, so we spent Saturday and Sunday just banging out some movies. And you, what have you been up to?
Well, before we talk about that, we should all take 3 seconds of silence for Val Kilmer. There we go.
Okay.
Because sadly, Val Kilmer passed away a few days ago as we record. A legend. You know, he's been in lots. He's a very versatile actor. You know, whether you like The Doors. I love Willow. That's one of my favourite roles for him. But also Top Gun. You know, he was Batman. He's done it all, really.
Funny enough, I liked him. I liked his kind of way of Jim Morrison, but I didn't actually like the movie because Oliver Stone, Jim Morrison, just made Jim Morrison look like, and Kilmer did make Jim Morrison look like a dick, and he wasn't. So
yeah.
Apart from that, but yeah, I'll tell you what I liked him in recently, which I watched him in Heat. Yeah,
he was in Heat as well. He was in The Island of Dr. Moreau as well.
Yeah.
Very strange story around that. And in fact, I watched, I think last year or the year before, I watched the documentary he's made on his own life because he had cancer. He's battling cancer for the last few years. Yeah, and he made a documentary called Val, where he shot it all himself, and his son Jack edited it together and stuff. And yeah, so I might actually rewatch that now that he's passed. Yeah, so Val Kilmer, pneumonia, and sadly.
Did he do horror at all?
Island of Dr. Moreau, you could probably count.
It's more sci-fi, I suppose.
And he's probably done a few bits and bobs along the way, but
I'll have a look.
He's just one of those actors, Val Kilmer, and the name, you know, just sort of, it's a Hollywood name.
It was, yeah. Val Kilmer was just like. He's just the same as your Brad Pitt or whatever, isn't it? It's like that sort of name you
also,
associate with Hollywood movies.
He was a star as well because he was so weird, and there was loads of strange stories connected to him, and obviously he's battled different addictions over the years and stuff. But yeah, so rest in peace to Val Kilmer. We may end up covering one of his movies or a couple of his movies at some point in the future. You never know. Talking of his son Jack, I've got a quick story about my son Jack.
His first film was Top Secret.
Yeah, that's right.
How did you go for that as your first film?
A lot of people like that.
Yeah, but your first film was quite like, you know.
Yeah.
So I didn't have any other parts before, just went bang straight into it. So that's pretty good. Must have seen something in him. Because, like, you know, but like 2 years after his first film, he's in Top Gun with Tom Cruise. So he did well.
And then he was in Top Gun again with Tom Cruise.
Because I expect, because, you know, not expect, but quite often you see with actors that start up doing stuff, a lot of TV, whatever, and then that's when they do, like Brad Pitt did a horror movie, High School, whatever it's called, High School Horror or something.
Well, Brad Pitt was also in an episode of Freddy's Nightmares.
Well, exactly, that's what you sort of see, and they work their way up, but Val Kilmer bang straight in there. So yeah, didn't do that route, and it's got no horror, really.
But as I mentioned, his son Jack, and I just want to segue, my son Jack is 3 years old. And I was playing bingo with him the other day. They've got a little insect bingo card game that I play with them, helps them with their numbers. Yeah. Both of them. This is Jack and Edith, obviously. For anyone who doesn't know, I've got twins. And all of a sudden, Jack said to me, I said, "You won that round, well done." He went, "Yeah, I did, you fucking poop."
Wow.
I said, I stunned silence for a few seconds, and I said, "Sorry."
It's weird when it comes out your kid's
What
mouth.
did you just say? And he said, you fucking poop. And I just looked at him, gave him a look. Edith started crying. So it must have been a stern look. And I said, you never say that word. Where did you hear that? And he said, he didn't tell me initially. And he obviously didn't know even it was a swear word.
Yeah, of course.
And anyway, I said, right, well, let's move on, Jack. You roll the dice because you won that last round, so you go first. He goes, yeah, fucking sake. And he went straight into another one. And I said, whoa, right, we need to talk now. And he told me it was a boy at nursery who said it. So I told nursery, and they said, all right, we'll keep an eye out for that. And he's not said it since. And he's really upset actually now. You know, he always says, I've been a good boy. Every time we pick him up from nursery now, he's like, I've been a good boy today, Daddy. I only said poo poo. I only said bum bum. And then he'll say things like, can I say, goodness sake? Can I say, oh my God? And I'm like, yeah, those ones are okay. Yeah, that's fine. And he's like, I won't say bloody hell anymore either. I'll say flipping hell. I'm like, okay. So he's got it drilled into him
Very sensible for a 3-year-old.
He's got it drilled into him now that there's certain words he cannot say.
Charlie came back from the playground when they were Jasmine a long time ago, and they were quite young, over the road from us where all the bad kids were, if you remember. Came back and just said, where's your fucking daddy to me?
Wow.
Right.
The funny thing about what Jack said is the first thing he said was he called me a fucking poop. It could have been anything, but he just chucked in a 3-year-old word straight at the end of it.
Yeah, I like that.
Which is cute. So anyway, I just thought I'd mention that story because it's quite funny. There's a bit of other news as well, but we'll get into that after. I'll tell you quickly what I've watched. I had insomnia. So I watched a couple of movies at like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
I have had insomnia on and off over the last 20 years, but it's normally my body does this weird reset where one night a month usually I just won't sleep for 24 hours, and then the next night I sleep and I'm fine and it's all back to normal. But that hasn't really happened to me for years. However, as I messaged you because I know you've struggled with insomnia on and off occasionally, my job's been very stressful. I've got a new job and my kids have been ill. And I had 3 nights in a row where I was up at like midnight. I'd gone to bed at like 10 p.m. and had like 2 hours sleep and just couldn't sleep from midnight onwards. That was awful. And your advice was, and this, I'd say this to any of our listeners, your body literally on the 3rd day, you will sleep. And you're right. On the 3rd day, my body was like, okay, time to sleep now. And I did. I slept for about 13 hours. It was great. Thank God. But one of the movies I watched, which really added to the mania of it, because I was, up at all hours of the night, was Mayhem from 2017, which I'd never seen before.
I've never seen it actually.
Really good. Really, and again, bear with me because I watched this at like 2 a.m. on like a Tuesday night, but it was really good fun, really gory. Steven Yeun is incredible in it, and it's just like a really fun black comedy. It's a little bit 28 Days Later in that there's a virus that gives people red eyes.
Yeah, I should watch it.
Stuff like that, and it makes them want to just like get angry. But it's really cool, really fun. So I watched Mayhem. I know I'm late to the party on that because it's almost 10 years old now, believe it or not. I also watched Sisu.
Yeah, great movie.
Yeah, I've been wanting to watch this for a while. It wasn't quite as good as these things get overhyped, and if you don't jump on them immediately, sometimes you're like, for me anyway, I'm like, oh, it wasn't quite, but I still enjoyed it. It just wasn't, I wanted a bit more from it, but that's not a bad thing. But it was very good, very gory, and who doesn't love Nazis getting exploded, stabbed, beaten up? It's fucking great.
I enjoyed watching it again recently. Yeah, I found it in a charity shop on DVD randomly. Yeah, it's great film.
I'll definitely watch it again. The guy in it was great. Everything about it was good. It was a great film. I just wanted a little bit more, but it's fun. And the only other movie I really want to talk about is taking you all the way back now to 1984. Linda Blair, when she was in her coke, frenzy phase, and they tried to pass her off as an action heroine, action hero in the film Savage Streets.
Okay, I've seen the cover. I've not seen it.
So it's a fun movie. I was talking to our buddy RJ about this. You got to go into it with that 80s mindset of it. This is going to be a bit mental. It's going to have a pretty synthy rock soundtrack. All the kids at the high school are 40-year-olds playing 18-year-olds. We've seen all that before. Basically, Linda Blair is like a girl who's on the cusp of being a bad girl, but she's a good girl. She's got a deaf sister, and this gang of guys rape her deaf sister. It's quite a graphic. It was banned actually in the UK. It was cut really heavily. I've got an uncut version of it. They rape her deaf sister, then they kill her best friend, and she just goes turbo with a crossbow at the end and just goes on a vigilante spree, dressed in a PVC catsuit. And unfortunately, it's Linda Blair, so she's not quite Sarah Connor or Ripley, but she's pretty good. There's a line in it where she says, "It's a shame you weren't born double jointed." And the guy's like, "Why you say that?" She says, "Because then you could bend over and kiss your ass goodbye." And then she takes him out with a crossbow.
Oh, I thought she was saying, "It's a shame not to double jointed." Why did you say that? Because then this wouldn't hurt. And then, no.
There is also a lot of naked Linda Blair in it, which is very odd. She's in the bath for about 10 minutes just with her boobs floating on the water while she's smoking a cigarette, thinking about how she's going to take these guys out. But I had a lot of fun with it. It's a really fun film, Savage Streets from 1984.
Floating boob fun for Dan.
Floating
it was
boobs.
like me at the weekend with Sarah. Got to the point with her and I was like, No.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I got to this point with her and I was like, I've just seen so many boobs this weekend. It's just been ridiculous. There's just been so many in these films. I promise you I didn't intend bringing so many tits with me, but seems to be the case. With insomnia, it's a bastard. I had it recently for the first time in a while because I've actually been pretty good since I've been taking lion's mane mushroom supplement.
Which I must say for our listeners, I recommend too. I've been taking for 2 months now, and it's really
it calms your mind.
Yeah, I just feel it's hard to explain why I feel different and better, but I do.
Like I said, I don't have anxiety anymore. Really, it tries to creep through. Funny enough, but just doesn't go. It's like a blocker. It's really weird. Anyway, but I had it recently. It got to the point by the third day I was coming back from Sarah's. I was at Sarah's the last time I was at Sarah's and I just couldn't sleep. I was there for whatever reason. By the third day I came back and I was just shopping and I was in that kind of state of like, it's not when you've got a kid and you're up that sort of tired. It is that tired, but it's slightly different because it can be a little bit like, I must go to sleep because you're there and you should be able to sleep, but you can't sleep and you feel like you're wasting time and there's a lot of things go on and you have to try to get your mind not to think about it. But I got to the last time and I was shopping and I just grabbed a bottle of Lucozade, got home, didn't even realise I'd really bought it because I was just so tired. My body just instantly went for something as a child, which was like energy. It was so weird. I hardly even drank any of it, but I was just so exhausted from it, and that's what you get with insomnia from after 3 days. But yeah, then you reset. Anyway, should we get into this?
Yes, well, very quickly, let's talk about 2 more things. Very exciting news related to one of our movies, Bubba Ho-Tep, which is about an Egyptian spirit. There's been a lot of exciting news in Egypt.
What's that?
Quickly to talk on it. Have you not seen what they found under the Great Pyramid, Gav?
No, I should do because I fucking love
God.
pyramids. Is it how this must be very, very, very recent?
This is the last 2-3 weeks, and more news is coming out every day about it. Oh my God, this is a rabbit hole you need to get down, my friend.
Because before we get into this, because the theory has always been certain thing, then you got Graham Hancock comes along with a lot of other theories about certain chambers and things. Are you telling me that they've discovered something which puts those original fuckers who just will not have it? I will not have it.
So they've used a very advanced form of sonar.
Excellent.
To see what's underneath the Great Pyramid.
Because stopping you again very quickly, they were a lot of times you're not allowed to do that stuff, and they weren't before because they're like, no, you're not going to let you do that because it's against religious beliefs using things like that. But okay, what have they found?
They have found what looks like
chambers.
8 tunnels.
Yep.
Going down. Each of them is 2 Eiffel Towers tall. Going around each of these is a spiral structure that is some kind of staircase.
Underneath?
Or pipe system. And then at the bottom of that, there is 4 big rooms, giant rooms, which they believe might be this library, this ancient library of ancient technology and stuff. The stuff they've talked about.
This blows everything.
And then, hang on, it gets better. And those 4 giant rooms, which are, don't forget, 2 Eiffel Towers deep, underneath the Great Pyramid, those 4 rooms then, leading off of them, is a network of tunnels, which is 2 kilometers long, which connects all of the pyramids and the Sphinx. So we're talking
They've
hundreds of feet and meters below the earth.
They've dug down, and obviously
they haven't dug down. They've used sonar.
No. When they originally built,
the Egyptians,
they either dug down or they were like that, and the sand and everything, and the planet is just. Do you know what I'm saying?
So they're trying to figure out if this is legit, because they're only using one type of sonar, and people are going nuts. Egyptian tourist board are going crazy about it because people are now like wanting to go there and be Indiana Jones. But there's a couple of theories. One of the theories is that there was a race of beings, humans, not aliens necessarily, before the Egyptians, because these are dozens of thousands of years old, these tunnels. They think either they had help building these pyramids, and they are much more than just, because we know they're not tombs, and Nikola Tesla thought that they were some kind of energy device. So this system of piping and all these tunnels could have used water to power something. Yeah. Like hydropower. Yeah. That's what these tunnels and these chambers and these huge columns are for. Yeah. But also they're also now saying, well, maybe because it also throws the history books out the window. Ancient Egyptian histories.
That's right, because of course then it goes away. All your bloody theories of, well, they used obviously sticks to put these blocks up here. No, they've built all that down there. It's not possible. You're not getting the fucking people to do it. It's
the tip of the iceberg. The pyramid is the tip.
I
of
hope
the iceberg.
This is real. I hope it gets more
Joe
sonar
Rogan's
too.
Been chatting about it. You know, it's so the last 3 weeks the news has just been going nuts coming out of Egypt, and there's loads of theories about it, and more news is coming out, and they're doing a press conference soon on it, and they're gonna. I'm hoping that the Egyptian Tourist Board and the Egyptian government allow some kind of more. Obviously, I don't really want them to destroy the other pyramid or anything, but I think this needs to be investigated because this could change the course of human kind, really. You know, everything we thought we knew, we might, there might have been a race of beings like humans that were much more advanced, that were wiped out by the Ice Age or the Great Flood or whatever it is, because there's all these theories that Egypt was underwater at one point and potentially Atlantis is linked to this. So it's just multiple rabbit holes to go down, and I do apologize to you and our listeners, because later on you will go on YouTube and you will spend about 5 hours listening and watching.
Oh, I see. I'm not getting political. I've stopped listening to Joe Rogan. Didn't want to, because there's a lot of stuff when he talks about fitness and when he talks about aliens and pyramids. I like his theories, but unfortunately he's just gone too right wing, and too many people are telling me to stop listening to him who are more intelligent than me.
He loves Donald Trump.
I don't want to get into it.
I know, I feel the same. But anyway, that was Egypt, and then the last thing to talk about is our very own Deadbolt Films. Couple of bits of news.
Loads.
Yeah, a few bits of news. Firstly, Amanda is going to be dropping in May.
I think it's 18th. YouTube. You can actually go to our YouTube channel now, deadboltfilms.com, and...
Is it April or May? Did I get that wrong?
No, April. This month. So this in the next couple of weeks it's out. So you can go there now and just do a thing. So you're waiting for it to come on. That'd be great. That makes us look better. I
was very pleased to watch it 2 weeks ago. Thoroughly enjoyed it, considering I am then somewhat involved in it and been involved in the process of it over the many years it's taken and evolved. I was really impressed and pleased with it and proud of everything that we've done.
Yeah, I'm quite happy with how random the films come out, and
That's great.
I could definitely say now, because he's in it, Nicholas Vince, who's a teeth chatterer from the original Hellraiser movie, and obviously plays a demon in the Hellraiser movie, is actually playing a demonologist in this Amanda, so do check that out because he has a great little performance.
Yeah. And can we link him into another bit of news? Are we allowed to talk about that?
Yeah, it hasn't been done yet, but he's going to hopefully be writing for our division of comics, writing one for Eldritch. No, not Eldritch. He's going to be writing one for Abyssal Albion, one of those series of comics. He's going to start writing some stories for us.
So we've got the teeth chatter involved.
Yeah, because
fantastic.
Yeah, he's written some of the Hellraiser comics for Marvel.
He's really into it.
So he's doing that, which is really good. Speaking of which, in the next couple of weeks, when the weekend we premiere Amanda, we're also at Horrified, which is a convention in Farnborough in England, in Hampshire. If you're around, come down to it. Loads of people are going, loads of people from Hellraiser. Robert Englund's there. Lance Henriksen, I think, is there. Today I saw, Sam from Trick or Treat with a little bag of his headless lolly. So if a person that does that's going to be there.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
No one's going to know who he is. But
so we're going there. It's Deadbolt Films. So we're actually there with a table and we're just pimping ourselves, basically. It's a filmmaking group and selling comics as well. So do come down and check us out because there'll be loads of horror shit there. There's loads of, 140 or so stalls. So that's really fucking cool. And there's talks and panels, and we're there all weekend. So please come down. That's like 2 weeks' time in Farnborough in Hampshire. So come down to Horrified. It's pretty cheap tickets as well. Horrified. You can easily find it on the internet. Do come check it out. I really appreciate it. You can come down and say hello to us, and you might even get something free from our table. You never know.
You never know. Even if you just get a hug and a kiss.
Exactly. And Mark's going to be wearing a Stormtrooper costume from Sanctuary Moon, walking around like that. Photo opportunities, etc. So we're really busy at Deadbolt Films. We've got loads of shit on the go, and there's no point, I can't say it too much, but we're prepping something major big for next year, possibly, if it happens, but there's no point saying this shit because it might not happen. And then we're prepping another thing for this year which we can make happen. So we're busy as fuck.
Deadbolt Films, baby.
But you never know, next year there's a chance I might become a professional filmmaker and have to give everything else up.
Everything.
I'll try and do the podcast still, apart from when I'm making films.
Please.
Anyway.
There we go. So that's what we've been up to, what we've been watching, who's died, and what they've got, and what's below Egypt. Val Kilmer is not below Egypt.
And
sadly.
I saw massive amounts of boobs this weekend with Sarah. Sarah watched them too, it wasn't just me. Me being weird and creepy.
I saw a lot of erect penises, which I wasn't expecting in Brandon Cronenberg's Possessor, which I didn't mention because I only watched an hour of it. I've got half an hour left to watch of it. But that guy manages to get erect penises in a lot of his films. If I remember rightly, there was one in Infinity Pool as well. And I think I was saying this to you before we recorded. I don't know how he gets away with it, but he must just say, "Do you know who my dad is? Come on, let me put this."
I guess, I don't know.
Because his dad never put hard cocks in his films.
I did see quite a lot of fingering in the movies over the weekend as well as boobs. And I said to Sarah, that's actually quite graphic. I'm just sitting there watching a movie thinking, I didn't know this was going to be in there.
Apologies.
Bruce Campbell.
The chin. Everybody, the chin. I've got about 3 of his books.
Yeah, that's right. Because one of them is the chin, I think. Actually, I've got one of his books.
Yeah. If Chins Could Kill is his main one, and then I've got The Man with Screaming Brain, which is a story of one of his movies, and I've got another one of his. Make Love the Bruce Campbell Way. That's the other one I've got as well. He is a funny guy. Anyone who knows horror films is a big Bruce Campbell fan. I don't know anybody who isn't a Bruce Campbell fan.
He can't not be. He's such a lovable, likeable person for screen, especially like the throwing himself around and all the slapstick humour,
And he is definitely in everybody's top 5 horror icons. You've got your Robert Englunds, your Tony Todds, but you've got to chuck Bruce Campbell in there because
you have to. He's an ambassador. Yeah, absolutely.
But like you said, Gab, he's an ambassador for a certain type of horror, like that low budget.
It's B-movie slapstick
throw yourself
almost
down the stairs without a stuntman, just get it done.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And he's still doing it now, still doing that now, even with his Evil Dead series that finished a few years back on Netflix. He's still getting beaten up by Sam Raimi. Anytime Sam Raimi makes a movie, even in the most recent Doctor Strange movie, he turned up in that and had to punch himself in the face repeatedly. And Sam Raimi said, because Doctor Strange does a spell on him, which makes him hit himself in the face. And then by the end of the movie, the end credit scene, was him just carrying on doing that, and it's just like poor old Bruce.
It's funny. I saw a little video clip of him actually earlier on, and he's just on stage there talking about the 3 Superman films where he had a cameo, and he said Tobey Maguire first
Spider-Man films.
Spider-Man. What did I say? Superman. Spider-Man. And it's like, oh, so you're doing this, and he's like, yeah. Then he appears in a second role, and he's like, oh, I guess we can't have can't do a movie without Bruce Campbell. Then he's like, yep, that's it, kid. And then the third one, he's like, oh, you're here again, because he didn't know he's just turned up on set to do the things, and it's just Bruce Campbell again.
Tobey Maguire.
And he said to him, well, that's acting, kid. Like, being different characters.
And he was so he played 3 different small cameos in each of the Sam Raimi / Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films, and he was actually going to be in the 4th one as the villain Mysterio, which Jake Gyllenhaal played in the newer Spider-Man movies. He was going to play Mysterio, and that was going to explain how he'd been all these other characters, because Mysterio can be anyone he wants, because he uses illusions as his power, like sleeping gas and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's been in, I mean, most people would know him obviously from the Evil Dead trilogy, and that is really where most people know him, but he's also got a huge following from the Hercules and the Xena shows,
and Burn Notice.
I've
never seen these things,
and a few other bits as well, which we'll get into when we sort of talk through his bio, which we might as well get into now, really. So Bruce Campbell, or Bruce Lorne Campbell, as I mentioned, he's born in 1958. He's directed quite a few things. He's produced a hell of a lot of things, and he starred in over 170 movies. Well, he's appeared in, let's not say he starred, bless him. He's appeared in over 170 movies as an actor on IMDb, which is why we're not going to go through his entire back catalogue. But yeah, he, like Gav said, he's an ambassador, really. He was born in Michigan, and he always reps Michigan, as does Sam Raimi. He's really good buddies with Sam Raimi and Ted Raimi. They're kind of a little stable, really. His parents were nothing to do with movies. His mum was actually a housewife, and his dad was an advertising executive and college professor. He is actually English-Scottish, his heritage. Obviously born in Michigan, though. And he attended with Sam Raimi, which is where he met him. He attended Wiley E. Groves High School, which is where they became very good friends and collaborators. Basically, Sam Raimi was like, I want to make movies, and I'm going to use you to be in everything I do from now on, right up until still now. He's still in pretty much everything Sam Raimi does, even if it's just a little bit part. So they collaborated on a 30-minute Super 8 film, which, as we all know, was called Within the Woods.
Have you seen it?
Yes, I have. Yeah, it's on my special edition DVD of Evil Dead. Mm-hmm. And that then got turned into a feature, Evil Dead, which took them
a few dentists giving them some money.
Yeah, family, friends, dentists, and others helped them fund that. It took them about 2.5 years to film it. Not quite as long as it took to make Bad Taste, but similarly, a lot of hard work and weekends. But they made Evil Dead, which is what got Sam Raimi put on the map. Bruce Campbell, not only did he star in it, but he had a production credit, and he's very good at producing. Actually, he really knows his stuff. In fact, you'd see his name come up on a lot of stuff you wouldn't expect. He just knows a moneymaker, I guess. Stephen King really liked Evil Dead as well, which got it a lot more attention.
Endorsed it, definitely, yeah.
And it became the most popular movie in the UK 4 years after it was released, and this is on VHS. So in 1985, it was the most popular rented film in the UK.
It did, though. Sam Raimi had to come to court in England about Evil Dead, because it got on the BBFC list, the ban list, which is the second time we've spoken about that this evening. But and he had to come to court, fly all the way over to just be, yes, that's me, like I'm the director or something, and leave. That was it. Something like that. It's really ridiculous. It's such a pathetic time. It was. Not like now's any better.
2 years later, they had so much money from Evil Dead that they made Evil Dead 2, which is kind of a remake almost.
It's kind of a remake, but they managed to get K&B effects involved. They managed to get the budget to build a cabin in a school gymnasium.
Yeah, and they just did what they wanted to really do on the first one. They just redid it
pretty much.
And a lot of people prefer Evil Dead 2 to Evil Dead 1.
I haven't seen it for a little while. I like it. Used to be that film which would come on telly and but I just sit down and watch it wherever it's at.
I think I prefer Evil Dead 2 just because it's funnier, but Evil Dead is still obviously a classic.
Well, the original I look at as a filmmaker. I look at the aesthetics and how it was put together, how it's made, like that taking the camera on a plank of wood through just above the water and just skimming it across, stuff like that. It's just really cool.
And when you've got Bruce Campbell, who will honestly throw himself into a puddle or do whatever it takes, It's
a great combat. Him and Bruce, Sam Raimi and Bruce is what it is. If it had been Sam Raimi and he'd have made another horror movie, but I think Bruce actually helps it become better as well.
And I do think in some ways Jim Carrey stole some of his comic facial expressions from, maybe not stole, but there's a similarity, because sometimes he's very slapstick in the faces he pulls.
Oh, it's Jim Carrey's been doing it since he was a teenager and stuff, but it might be in the movies that he was watching around that time, and you get inspiration from everywhere, so yeah, definitely.
And just on a quick side note, like Ash Williams, the character from the Evil Dead trilogy, is now his own thing. He's in Marvel Zombies.
Ash is up there with Freddy and stuff as well. Yeah,
you've got comic books which is like Ash versus Freddy versus Jason.
Again, another thing for that though is the chainsaw on the arm.
Yeah, wow. Just
that. And have a shotgun in one arm and a chainsaw on the other arm is just like
And I remember we've talked about this when we covered Evil Dead 2 many years ago, but it's one of those things on the playground where people say, I saw a film where a guy chops his own hand off and replaces it with a chainsaw, and you're like,
yeah,
okay, I need to see this immediately. He was also in Dark Man with Liam Neeson. It's just a very small cameo because Raimi directed that. He was in Quick and the Dead, another Raimi movie, and like I said, recently appeared in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. He was in Maniac Cop 2.
Maniac Cop's such a great movie. I need to see the second one. I don't remember it at all.
Obviously, he was in My Name is Bruce, as you mentioned, where he plays like a weird version of himself, which is cool. He was weirdly enough, in a Jim Carrey movie called The Majestic, which is one of my favourite Jim Carrey movies. Have you seen that?
No, I've never seen it.
Where he gets what do you call it? He bangs his head and he forgets who he is, and Jim Carrey, and he finds himself in this very small town where it's a bit like the Truman Show, where everybody's very, very sweet and kind and nice, and he just fits nicely into this town. He buys a cinema called The Majestic, does it up, and starts playing old films, and one of the films he plays stars Bruce Campbell as like a bit of a sort of Errol Flynn swashbuckler.
It's funny you said that. Literally last night I was with Daisy and I typed in Jim Carrey on Amazon. I said, these are all, she goes, I love Jim Carrey. And I was like, right, let's watch some Jim Carrey. And I was going through different films. That's so funny you should say that. Strange.
Yeah. He showed up in Escape from LA, John Carpenter's sequel. He was in Sky High with Kurt Russell, another link there, where they played superhero teachers in a school for superhero kids, which is a fun movie. And he's done a lot of voiceover work. Cloudy with a Chance for Meatballs, Cars 2, and he did a weird cameo at the end of Evil Dead, the sort of remake or the reboot. Do you remember at the very after the credits he just says groovy?
Yeah.
Groovy. And then television. He's got a huge television career as well. He was in The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr., which a lot of people absolutely love. Didn't really get shown in the UK much.
Nah, a lot of this stuff didn't. No.
But he was on that. He also had a really. You might have watched this. I don't know. I loved the Superman show with Dean Cain and Terry Hatcher, and he was in that as a recurring character in that as well. As mentioned earlier, he played Orticlus in Hercules, the TV show, which was huge. And Xena, this is the spin-off of that as well.
Never seen any of these TV shows.
Well, Sam Raimi and Robert Tapert and Bruce Campbell were all heavily involved in those two shows, and obviously Bruce Campbell showed up in both of those shows a lot as well. So he's done loads and loads of TV work. Burn Notice, which you mentioned as well. He was Oh, was he in Fargo as well, or am I getting that wrong?
No, he's not a Fargo.
I think he was in. Maybe I got that wrong. And then obviously recently, everybody probably will remember that he did 3 seasons of Ash versus Evil Dead for Netflix, or Stars, but it got shown on Netflix, which was a really lovely send-off for his character.
How did it end? Because I started watching recently, and then it kind of dipped out halfway through. For whatever reason, I just kind of lose interest. How does it end in season 3?
I cannot remember, and I only watched it about 2 months ago.
See, that's probably why I've never carried on watching the rest all of it, because I really enjoyed it. I was like, first going, this is brilliant right at the beginning, when he's just trying to get laid in a bar, and it's just like that sort of character. I was like, this is fucking amazing, and then it just kind of...
It did get a bit boring, but it's still a lot of fun and better than a lot of stuff that's out there.
Maybe they should have done like 1 season of it. Yeah.
Should also mention video games.
God, yes.
I used to have Evil Dead Hail to the King, which was a PlayStation 1 game.
There's a new Evil Dead, like, 8-bit type game for the PlayStation 5, like, out now. Yeah, that and Halloween, I think it is. You can buy them both together. Well,
he did Evil Dead Hail to the King for the PlayStation 1, and I've got a funny story about that, because I've still got that. I took it on my stag do, but we never played it. And the funny story about that is, back in the day when the internet was really quite new to a lot of people, my friend Rob that I lived with at the time, at work, he printed out the walkthrough off of a website, and it was like 200 pages of A4.
Wow.
And over a weekend we completed it using this walkthrough, because it was a quite complex game.
Oh my God.
He was also, and it was all his voice and all his likeness in it. He also did Evil Dead: A Fistful of Boomstick, Evil Dead Regeneration, Evil Dead the Game. So there's a bunch of Evil Dead games as well that he was in, as well as other stuff that he lends his voice to.
If he didn't have Ash and Evil Dead, probably his bank account would be a little less.
Yeah. And then his books, we mentioned If Chins Could Kill, Make Love the Bruce Campbell Way, and then a bunch of other books he's done as well. And now there's the Bruce Campbell Horror Film Festival, which started in 2014.
He turned up one year as well.
Yeah, where they show Bruce Campbell movies and talk about him. And yeah, he showed up. He showed up a couple of times.
Weird though, if you turn up, it's like, oh, it's the Dan Festival, and you're like, oh, hi. It's weird.
Sam Raimi's been there a few times. Robert Tapper has been there as well. A few other people as well. Really interesting, weird stuff. He's been married twice. And he is an absolute legend. And I guess we'll just talk about some of his more standout films, really. But other than that, then we'll jump straight into Bubba Ho-Tep. So we've talked about a lot of these, really. But obviously, Evil Dead. I think he was he in Blood Simple as well? That Coen Brothers movie briefly. I think he was in that briefly as well.
Might have had a slight cameo, maybe. I don't know.
Evil Dead 2, Maniac Cop. Intruder, which is a great movie about people stuck in a shop and someone comes in and starts trying to kill them all. It's a great movie. It's a real 80s movie. Might cover it one day. He was in Maniac Cop 2, Dark Man, Waxwork 2, which I'm a big fan of the Waxwork movies. Hudsucker Proxy, which is a more serious role for him. Congo, which is a really underrated movie about giant monkeys with Ron Perlman. The Quick and the Dead, Escape from LA, which is an awful film. But when Bruce Campbell shows up in it as a weird Frankenstein dentist, then you're just all over that, really. But at that point, Dust Till Dawn 2, Texas Blood Money, fucking terrible film. I only bought the box set because I knew Bruce Campbell was in it.
I got it on VHS.
I've got the trilogy because they made 3 of those films. Everybody.
I know, sort of heard of.
I've got them on DVD. Obviously, The Majestic we've mentioned, Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3, Bubba Ho-Tep, which we're going to be covering in this episode, Man with Screaming Brain, because he made a lot of really bad B movies, which are enjoyable if you just watch them for Bruce Campbell. My Name is Bruce, which we've talked about as well. He showed up at the end of that Evil Dead movie in 2013. He also did a voice cameo in Evil Dead Rise. If you listen very carefully, you can hear his voice. Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. And I'm going to stop there. He was in a hell of a lot of TV shows. But like I said, he's got over 171 credits on IMDb. we're not going to bore you all with that. What I will do is quickly go into a couple of Bruce Campbell facts before we get started on Bubba Ho-Tep, Gav. You happy about that? Aye. Ali G, it's Bruce Campbell. One of the facts about him is a lot of directors, Sam Raimi mainly, say that he is the best reverse actor in the business.
Yeah, I've heard this.
So what we mean by that, dear listeners, is a lot of the times to create an effect or something in a movie, they'll shoot it backwards and then play it forwards, and that's how they do, like an arrow going into somebody's chest or whatever it might be. They pull it out and then they'll obviously reverse the footage. And a lot of effects in Evil Dead, a couple of Evil Dead movies, were achieved because he's so good at, I don't know how, but he's so good at doing something backwards, which is supposed to be forwards, and he knows how it's going to look. So that's one of his accolades. Is that a lot of people in Hollywood have said he is one of the best. You
have to, just very quickly on that, as an editor's standpoint, sometimes you have to go, oh fuck, I'm going to have to cheat this, it didn't work. So you go, right, I'll go to it going in, like you say, for example, an arrow going in, it looks bad going in, okay, so I have to cheat it, I have to coming out and reverse it. But what you end up doing is just speed things up so it goes by really quickly so people don't notice it too much and just move on, keep going, because it just didn't work. But yeah, if you can get someone that can act so well that you can go, we're planning it to go backwards, and then it's and then you play it forward, it's like, wow. Yeah,
there's a video of a hip-hop music video by the Far Side,
Spike Jonze, isn't it,
called Drop. Yeah, directed by Spike Jonze, which is done backwards. Yeah, and the group, the Far Side, actually learnt their song backwards, so they could mime the words to it, which is incredible. And it's one of my favourite hip-hop songs, actually, of all time, but also videos, definitely, because it's so original and strange and gives this crazy effect where their clothes are just flying onto them and stuff like that. Really cool. For another weird fact is, My Name is Bruce, the whole film was just built on his land. All the sets and everything was just built on his land and his house and where he lives. So he funded it all and did it all and directed it, obviously. But also it was all quite easy for him at the end of the day to just walk across the field back to your house.
Seems a bit lazy.
Bruce Campbell, lazy. I would never call him lazy.
No, he's obviously a very hard-working man. Yeah, fair enough.
He once officiated a zombie wedding.
Of course did.
A couple had a zombie themed wedding, and he showed up in a red suit and married the couple who were dressed as zombies. Nice.
I'd happily have Bruce Campbell marry me.
Biggest role he's ever had is Army of Darkness. He got paid $93,000, which was very big for him in '92.
Yeah, it's not bad money for '92.
It was quite a large chunk of the budget, but the rest of it went on effects.
That's good. Good though. It was fun watching it for this again.
And my last little bit of trivia really about him is, and you might not know this film, but there's a movie in the '90s with Billy Zane called The Phantom. Yeah, he really tried to get that role. He thought that was going to be his breakout role as a superhero. And Billy Zane got the role over him.
And it doesn't matter who if said someone, Phantom, like what you on about? So it doesn't matter.
It's got a soft spot in my heart.
But of course it has for you, it has.
But yeah, Bruce Campbell, ladies and gentlemen.
Bruce Campbell. Right, trailer
for Bubba Ho-Tep.
Let's do it.
Could I have gone from the king of rock and roll to this old guy in a rest home?
You were an Elvis impersonator.
You fell off a stage and broke your hip? Who was it?
20 years ago.
That's where they took a piece of my brain. I got a little bag of sand up there now.
Jack, President Kennedy was a white man.
They dyed me this color. What we have here at Shady Rest is an Egyptian soul sucker of some sort.
Some kind of Bubba Ho-Tep.
You know, a mummy hiding out, feeding on the sleeping.
He can just keep on feeding unless he's finally destroyed.
All right, man, let's go. Don't make me use my stuff on you, baby.
Bubba Ho-Tep, 2002, rated R for pirates.
Arr.
At 1 hour and 32 minutes, tidy, neat.
Ooh.
When residents of their nursing home start dying of dubious causes, an aged Elvis Presley and an African-American senior who claims to be President JFK discover that the perpetrator is an Egyptian mummy with murderous intentions. That sounds as mental as it is. Elvis Presley, still alive in a mental home, teams up with a guy who claims to be a body swapped JFK.
Yeah.
And throw in the fact that this is directed by none other than Don Coscarelli.
Indeed. It actually sounds like a sort of movie I would take to Sarah's.
For anyone who doesn't know Don Coscarelli, he directed the Phantasm series. I believe he directed all 5 movies. We covered them all in our Phantasm special many years ago.
Beastmaster.
Beastmaster as well. John dies at the end.
He doesn't like Beastmaster, though.
No, I don't mind it. But again, it was a childhood movie. It's not very good, but it was one I watched when I was a kid. I'd rent it out.
Yeah.
John Dies at the End was really good. He directed that.
I saw it once. I can't remember the ending, though.
Yeah.
That's a joke, Dan.
Well, I'll tell you what happens at the end, Gav. John dies.
Yeah.
A little side note there. When I used to work for a company that dealt with people, I won't say the name of the company, but many years ago I worked for a company where people would call in with requests for businesses, and one of those businesses was cinemas. And somebody actually said to me, "Oh, can you tell me what's showing at my local cinema?" And I said, "Yeah, I said all the films, and I said I want Titanic."
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh, Titanic. What's that? What's the synopsis for that one?" Because I had the synopsis to
Did you say, what do you mean, what's the synopsis for that? It's the Titanic.
Come on.
What do you think happens?
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But anyway, this film is everything I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
And I think it holds up fairly well. It's unique enough that it holds up fairly well, and it's part horror film, part comedy, but also like very tragic comedy. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like it really takes a close up under the microscope look at old age.
Yeah, totally.
And what happens to you as you're getting old, particularly to men's genitals as you get old. There's a lot of talk about Elvis's penis in this, and I wonder, my big takeaway after watching it, other than enjoying it, is I wonder what Elvis Presley's family think
of this. Yeah.
Of this film. That there's a movie out there where Bruce Campbell is playing.
It's Flickering Pecker.
I felt the little flicker in the old pecker. I thought, is life in the old boy yet? Thank you very much. It's very strange, but let's get into it.
Do it.
Did you see this in the cinema? I did.
No. I didn't even know it was in the cinema.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, I saw this at the cinema. It was probably only really out for a week or something, where I live. But really weird. Really good stuff. And a good one to look at for Bruce Campbell because he's under heavy makeup for the whole movie.
Yeah. He does a great job.
Playing Elvis. Yeah, he does a really good job. They weren't allowed to use any official Elvis Presley songs in this.
That's funny when he's worked with Kurt Russell because Kurt Russell's also played Elvis.
Yeah. And so did Val Kilmer. Don't forget.
Yeah, True Romance.
Yeah. There's been a few classic actors that have played Elvis. I haven't seen the Elvis movie. I know you and your mum watched it, didn't you?
Yeah, it's good.
It's now on Netflix, and I keep meaning to watch it because I've heard it's really good. I'm not a massive Elvis fan, but I appreciate, he was a bit of a legend. Also, loved his drugs, his women, and his triple cheeseburgers as well, apparently. So, there we go. So we start off this movie with a description of the title. Ho-Tep is a title often associated with Egyptian pharaohs and kings and rulers, and you're taking it all very seriously. And then it says, and Bubba, normally associated with a redneck or a man from the deep south, basically someone that you might see in Deliverance, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's where the name comes from. And Elvis does name the entity Bubba Ho-Tep at some point in the movie as well, doesn't he? And it's a pretty epic title card, and we get a nice little black and white documentary footage, funnily enough, linking into what we talked about in our intro.
Yeah, it's if you think of The Exorcist at the beginning, obviously it's an actual archaeological site, but that sort of thing. But we're looking at old black and white footage of like an old news report of something, and obviously it's what we're about to get into with the Bubba Ho-Tep.
Yeah, they found a mummy. They're very excited, and this mummy's going to be studied and brought to America and put in a museum, blah, blah, blah. All of this will tie into poor old Elvis and JFK's adventure. The JFK thing in this, it just came out of nowhere for me. I absolutely love that. I think it's crazy and brilliant, but we'll get into that. And yeah, we're in an old people's home in a place called Mud Creek in Texas.
And there's quite a lot of the old sort of shining corridor dollies in this.
A lot of good corridor work.
Corridor dollies where you get like in Substance of recent, very popular, and like The Shining, where at Lords of Salem, Rob Zombie does it in that too.
And we should probably talk about, I've always thought old people's homes are quite creepy. No offence to any old people, but
why?
They are because people go there to die, sadly. And a lot
is
of
that
people...
why you feel like it's creepy?
No, but what I mean by that is in real life, I've been to a few in real life, and they're not creepy in real life, but
no,
they could be made out to be really creepy.
Yeah, easily.
And this is a really good premise that there's something going around in old people's home.
We watched that movie, didn't we, for the patron, that foreign movie?
Oh yeah, Old.
Yeah, for Rachel.
We did. Yeah, we did.
That was your concept really there, isn't it, really?
Yeah, because and that's similar to this, sadly old people do die, especially old people in old people's homes.
Well,
and
all people die.
Well, you know what I mean, but what's funny is we get a reoccurring scene of these two guys that turn up there every other day to pick up the next dead body and put it in the hearse, and it's just part and parcel for them because it's an old people's home. And,
well, it's just a job, isn't it?
But it's a really good way for a serial killer or a Bubba Ho-Tep to not really get caught out on killing off loads of old people.
Yeah, well, it's like killers of 1900s and before then. They had field days, didn't they? It's like, well, I'll just move to this state and get away with it. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Back then,
who gives a shit?
No DNA, no internet.
Yeah, totally.
Crack on.
Yeah,
but we're not condoning that, and you will get caught if you try and do that these days.
So yeah, go back in time if you want to be a mass murderer or serial killer.
So we track down some corridors, and we are shown our hero, Elvis Presley, lying in his bed in the old people's home with another man in the same room in a bed next to him. And there's a lot of narration in this, a lot of voiceover, and he's talking.
I like a film which gives narration. I do massively appreciate it, and this is really good because you got to think of it as well. It's Elvis's, it's my voice. It's having that slur, that sort of way, that draw of the voice, has Elvis had. So having that as narration just cements it more that it's Elvis. Do you know what I mean?
And he's saying, look at me lying here in this bed, no one would believe I used to be the king of rock and roll. And then he starts talking straight away, about old age, and then he starts talking about the growth on his dick, and he's got this little growth which he thinks might be cancer.
He's got some dick pus.
Yeah, bit of pus. And he keeps getting his dick creamed up by a lady, which is just degrading for him. And he says, there's a line he says, I haven't even had a hard-on in years.
I had a hard-on in years.
Nothing works for him. He's very old.
So then
he uses Zimmer frame to get around.
And as he's sort of saying that, we're getting an idea of his life, and there's no section. Obviously, back in the day, he would have been fine. Panties been thrown at him on stage continuously. And
he was the king of swing.
We have a king of swing for Hostel, but we have a little flashback ready to him describing that and him on stage, and he's like, yeah, till my hip went out, and he sort of just kicks forward a thrust and his hip run goes and just falls to the floor. And unfortunately, if you don't have muscle, you're not strong. When you get things like hip injuries and you can't get yourself better, you come into a vicious cycle of being weaker and weaker in hospital. And this is him. And
it's a very dark comedy because while he's talking about the heyday and you see some flashbacks, is the guy in the bed next to him starts having this terrible coughing fit. And he just looks and says, look at this guy. This is my roommate. He's coughing away. And he's just coughing and coughing and coughing. He says, how did I end up like this? Yeah. How? What am I doing here? And then his roommate just dies. Sort of falls out and dies. And
he thinks he sees something, though.
He does. He sees little glimpses of... There's like a side. Oh, I've seen this. What was that?
That is the audio recorder falling over. Sorry, I don't even know how that happened, really.
Just check we're still recording.
We're all good, though. So I'm just going to keep that in the show. It's live, ladies and gentlemen. Live.
And that is our first glimpse into these two guys picking up these two guys who drive the hearse, and they come and pick up the old people and pop them in. And they've got no respect for them.
Well, it's just a job, though. You can't, obviously you should have respect, of course. But, I mean, if they're a bit like that, it's just their job.
So they pop that guy in the hearse, and that's the first person to die. And it's nighttime.
Well, we have a lot of days flashing past really quickly, and it's sort of symbolising, obviously, time's going on and nothing's happening. It's just a lot of people coming and going real fast.
And there's an old lady in the corridor, one of the old residents, another resident, and she wanders down and she sees her friend in an iron lung. And she goes up to her. And obviously her friend's in the iron lung, can't move. And she sees that she's got loads and loads of candy and a nice pair of glasses as well. So she steals her glasses.
Oh, yeah.
She steals her candy and goes back to her room to eat all the sweets.
Fucking bully.
I know. Your mate's in an iron lung.
She gets it though, doesn't she?
She does, because while she's in her room scoffing all this stolen candy, she sees a giant scarab beetle. Now, we all know, listeners, scarab beetle is an ancient symbol of the Egyptians and the pharaohs. We watched the Brendan Fraser mummy movies. We know that those things, when you see those, there's never far behind the mummy. But she doesn't know that. She just thinks it's a big cockroach or something. It crawls under her sheets. It bites her. She falls out of bed, and Bubba Ho-Tep appears. We don't know who he is at the time, but obviously it is Bubba Ho-Tep. One thing we should probably mention, his technique, Gav, how he sucks your soul out.
It's sharp. He sort of puts his lips on your asshole.
And he sucks your soul out of your bottom, doesn't he?
I love that bit. For days I've been saying it. The old guy, and it's asshole.
I know.
Asshole. I've been going around at work just going, asshole. It's pretty fucking funny.
Now, while she is being killed by Bubba...
In my head, by the way. I'm not just outward just saying asshole.
Good.
Good. Just in my head I'm saying it. It's funny.
While she's having her soul sucked out of her bottom... Elvis is in his bed and he gets a little flash, an image of the lady who's just been killed. He sees her being dragged past his bedroom door.
Yeah, that's what he thinks he sees. Like, yeah, so
and he's sort of, am I hallucinating? Is it the drugs I'm on?
Yeah.
I don't really know. And he just goes back to sleep, and that's that really it. And the next day, another hearse is filled. So we're on to it now as an audience. It's more than just old people dying. Somebody's sucking on assholes in this old people's home.
Asshole sucker.
And it's not Elvis. Elvis wakes up in his room. Obviously, he's on his own now because his roommate died the other day. And there's a young lady in the room. And she's rifling through the chest of drawers. And it turns out...
Next to him.
That was her dad. Who died.
But
And he's like, I've never seen you here before. She's like, oh, I brought him in once when I dropped him off years ago.
she has no remorse of this, though. Like, he's like, oh, you should have come a bit more. She's like, oh, whatever.
Yeah, she says,
But-
like, why?
The thing is, though, he can't at any point be judging that. He has no idea how their relationship was. That bloke might have been a fucking dickhead.
Well, in the flashback earlier, he even says, because we find out later how he did this whole switcheroo where he is in this old people's home and the real Elvis died, vice versa, switcheroo. But he says even Priscilla doesn't know I'm alive. None of my kids, my wife, nobody knows I'm still alive. So he's got a terrible relationship with his family as well.
But you'd think, though, when the Elvis impersonator took his place, dies, he could have then been like, right, gone to the family and said, I am your real father, blah, blah, blah. I know you're going to hate me, but
no one believes him because he's an old man.
But he would know stuff that they wouldn't, only he would know.
That's true. He could do it.
I think he should.
Well, he gets an upskirt shot because this lady...
That would make a movie itself, not the upskirt shot.
Oh, okay.
Not that. You get arrested for that nowadays. Not saying that it was good. It's not saying... Oh,
it was good up until...
Digging a hole. Digging a hole. What would make a good movie? That's the synopsis, but the movie is his journey to the family house to tell him this. That'd be well good.
Well, it's not.
No, it's not.
He sees this lady's bottom and he says, look at her. She's wiggling it around.
And he's like, she just don't really give a shit. She doesn't think about me in the slightest. She just doesn't care that I'm here. So she doesn't care that she bends over. And if I see it, she's like, I don't care if he sees my ass.
I can see the whole thing. She don't even care.
It's true.
She throws everything in the bin that belonged to her dad's, pretty much. Even his Purple Heart from the war.
That probably made his day, though, seeing that bottom.
Oh, yeah. But he says...
Weak.
Well, when she bends over, he says, oh, that was the first time I felt a flutter. And he feels a flutter.
Yeah.
Just a little flutter, but nothing else.
But yeah, she wants to throw away his Purple Heart, and he's like, I'll take the Purple Heart, because I think he's kind of proud of that.
Yeah, so he's got a picture of this guy and the Purple Heart, and she says, my name's Callie, and, I was his daughter, and he says, oh, my own daughter doesn't even know I'm alive.
Would she come visit me, is what he says.
Yeah. She just walks off. The nurse walks in, and she uses his real name, which isn't Elvis, and he says, he sort of just has a word with her. She says, all right, okay, if you really want me to call you Elvis, I will. So everybody just thinks he's a senile old man who dresses as Elvis and thinks he's Elvis. And he gives a bit of a backstory to us, the audience, now, that he was an Elvis impersonator. Well, he wasn't an Elvis impersonator. He was Elvis, and he broke his hip, went into a coma from an infection and woke up in the old people's home. But they swapped him out because he was the real Elvis. He needed a break from the fame. He had too many women, too many drugs, too many drink. It was all too much for him, and he wanted a break. So he found an Elvis impersonator. They switcherooed, and while he then carried on, the real Elvis pretended to be an Elvis impersonator. That's where he broke his hip and ended up in this old people's home. And his real name, they always tell him his real name is Sebastian Haff, but it's not. He's obviously the real Elvis. Well, we never really know. That's the beauty of this. We never know whether he really is the Elvis impersonator or whether he really is Elvis. Mm. But he truly believes he is. So we as an audience believe he truly is Elvis as well.
Yep.
And we get this hilarious, funny little backstory now where it's all, you watch it all unfold, where Bruce Campbell plays two people. He plays Sebastian Haff, the Elvis impersonator, and the real Elvis walks into his dressing room and says, I want to swap with you. They sign a contract. The fake Elvis walks out and takes over the real Elvis's life.
Such a good idea, isn't it?
It's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what really drew me in with this. Because it's a theory, that a lot of celebrities who die, there's the theory that they've been swapped out. There's the whole Paul McCartney thing, all that kind of stuff.
And to cement that this has happened, he comes out, he licks his lips, where we saw just a moment ago he had cherry pie or whatever on his lips.
Yep. Cherry pie.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a few years later, while he's living the life of an Elvis impersonator,
He's just like, I'm trailer trash.
Yeah.
Happily.
just barbecuing some food.
Just chilling out with these ladies, telling about cool stuff. I'm an Elvis impersonator and I'm barbecuing. Might get laid with one of these guys or both later in my trailer.
Unfortunately, his caravan explodes
with all of his contracts.
So he now has no proof at all that he was ever the real Elvis.
No.
And he's fucked. And then obviously not long after that, he popped his hip on stage, broke it, fell off stage.
Yeah, because he said it was fine. I didn't really care because I was having a good time anyway. Which is the best thing about this is the sweetness of the fact that a musical artist, the fact that sometimes they don't like the fame or the fortune. They just want to just do the thing that they enjoy doing, and it's so nice that he's like, I was just enjoying doing what I was doing. It's like no pressure. I was just an impersonator, but I was the real thing. So like, I had gigs, I had jobs. It's fucking great, but no pressure. And I got laid by people thinking I was like Elvis, that sort of thing. It's a sweet gig. You just don't have all that money and like have to do all the tours and all the bullshit and all the people, like he says at the beginning, all his mates are just leching off him, like taking his money, and which always happens in these situations where people get lots of money. It becomes a problem. I never had any problems until I had money, that sort of thing.
And a lot of celebrity impersonators make tons of money. Elvis impersonators out there. There's Michael Jackson impersonators. You name it. There's people out there that are making so much money. You go and watch these bands that are tribute bands, and they're making a huge amount of money. Some of them, I'm trying to think of some of them now, but there's like I don't know. There's like Ozzy Osbourne tribute bands. Yeah, there's what I'm saying. But these guys make loads and loads of money.
There's the Cypress Hill tribute band.
Wow.
Can't remember what they're called. Are still looking for a DJ to tour around England with them.
I always wanted to set.
I can't do it. I'm busy.
I had a fantasy when I was in my early 20s that I would set up a Beastie Boys tribute band.
Nice.
I'd love to do that, Gav. We can still do it.
I can actually do the Mix Master Mike stuff. So yeah, well, not to his ability, but I could do a basic version of it.
I'd need 2 other people that could rap with
Rob
me.
and Dave.
Now, don't you tell me to smile. What's a good name
Team You Beastie Boys.
What's a good name for a Beastie Boys tribute band? Hello Nasty?
I don't know.
Skills to Pay the Bills? It'd have to be one of their songs.
I guess.
Or the Beastly Boys. You've got to change the wording sometimes slightly, haven't you, as well?
Yeah, or License to Ill or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, carry on.
There we go. Anyway, he's told this whole story to Callie, and she just walks out the room.
Pretty much.
Care.
We do get to meet his mate.
Well, hang on. Before that, the nurse comes in and she says,
"Oh, it's his hand job time.
I'm coming back in a moment to."
Oh, not yet.
To take care of that thing.
Yeah.
And you're like, what thing?
Yeah.
We'll find out about that later.
But we meet his mate.
So we meet an African American fella
called Jack. Just Jack, but
And he says, I'm actually JFK. I've got a scar on the back of my ear, and he has got that scar where I got shot in the head.
He says he wasn't assassinated, and they just dyed me black.
They dyed me black. And Elvis is like, now Elvis, this guy, is probably
But
fake.
what's he supposed to do? He's telling people he's Elvis. They're like, what are you talking about? So he understands how realistic it is. So he's like, but the fact that he's been dyed black does make it a little bit more unrealistic, though.
So what you got a picture now, listeners, and I know a lot of you will have seen this, but what you got a picture now is, for the rest of this movie, we've got JFK, who is now an old black man in a wheelchair.
Who I love.
He's brilliant. Ozzy Davis plays his character. He's fantastic. And then you've got an elderly Elvis who's still rocking like the sunglasses and the hair, but he's got a Zimmer frame.
So I don't know Ozzy Davis that well. Apparently he's quite a well-known actor in some films and beloved American actor. I didn't really know him that well. But apparently his wife said that he said, because he passed, it's his favourite role.
Well, I can imagine they had a lot of fun.
As an actor, that is a playground, right? Basically, you're playing JFK, but you'd be like, but I'm black. And they'll be like, yeah, but JFK, and you think you were dyed by the government black. And he's like, brilliant. What fun.
Apparently him and Bruce got on quite well.
Yeah, I bet they did.
You know, and I can imagine most people say that about Bruce Campbell, really.
Yeah, I can imagine, yeah.
Yeah.
I imagine Bruce had a lot of it.
Must be a lot of fun to work with. And...
I'm just going to check out Ozzie Davis, actually.
Yeah. So he gives his backstory to Elvis, and so these two start forming this friendship, and we're back to nighttime now, and this time Elvis is having a dream. He's having a dream of cruising in his car when he was younger, performing on stage as an impersonator, and then he sort of has the PTSD of breaking his hip, and that kind of wakes him up, and he wakes up and he says, oh damn it, I need to piss. And he's just determined to do it on his own for once, because it's so degrading for him to have to call someone to help him go to the bathroom. So he wrenches himself up onto his walker, onto his Zimmer frame, and starts heading over to the bathroom to do his wee. And then he hears a noise in his bedroom, and he thinks, the hell's that? And that candy box is in his bedroom, and it's got the scarab beetle in it. Mm-hmm. He opens it. And this is your classic Bruce Campbell scene now. Bruce versus a little object, whether it's his cut-off hand or whatever it might be. Because this scarab beetle now jumps out at him. He pulls a kung fu pose, because everybody knows Elvis Presley had a black belt.
But when he does, yeah, because James... I don't know. Bruce
Lee did teach.
That's
Elvis
what I was going to say, but it's a very small amount of it. I think it's too much.
Black belt.
Yeah. Anyway, but I love the fact he goes to do his stance and goes, ah.
Well, he does the stance, then he goes, let's go.
But yeah, then he goes to do a kick, and it's really pathetic, and he's got like, oh. Yeah.
And then the scarab beetle realizes it can fly.
It's very comic book style here. It's very Sam Raimi.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's real Bruce Campbell scene. It flies around the room. It's buzzing at his face. You know, you've got the camera. You can imagine they had the camera just flying at Bruce Campbell's face. He tries to catch it using a bedpan, which is what he was determined to not use. Yeah. The irony. Apparently, one scene, Bruce Campbell was in bed for hours, and he needed a wee so badly, but he didn't want to move out of the bed because they were setting up and get everything ready. So he used that bedpan to do a real wee at one point, Bruce Campbell. Bless him.
Nice. Yeah, well, yeah, fair enough.
Anyway, he catches the bug in a bedpan. And again, this is almost quite phantasmy as well now. Obviously, the same director. He thinks it's got away, and we, the audience, see that it's still inside the bedpan, but he can't see that. And then it flies at him. He manages to stab it with a fork, and then it gets electrocuted into a little heating unit, and then when this thing's sort of frying on the floor, he just looks at it and goes, never fuck with the king. It's just brilliant stuff, really. You know, and only really Bruce Campbell can pull this kind of stuff off, really. It's totally brilliant. Absolutely love it. He calls for help me, and then he hears some whispers, and he thinks, well, I better go investigating, because something's happening out in the corridors, linking into his visions that he's had. He walks out and he sees someone on the floor, and it's his buddy Jack, aka JFK. Yeah. And he sees the scar on the back of his head, so he thinks, okay, maybe he really is JFK that was not assassinated and in fact was died by the government. It's just ridiculous. And he says, first of all he's going, Jack, and then when he sees the scar he goes, Mr. Kennedy, are you okay? And he is okay. And he says to him, did you see him? Did you see him? And he says, what? Did you see him? And he says that there's somebody going around, and they start discussing it. And this is where their sort of friendship starts to get. Now, they both believe that there's an entity somewhere in the old people's home. Later on, the nurses put JFK back in his bed. And this is where we get Reggie Bannister.
Yep. It's always good to have a bit of Reggie.
He doesn't have his ponytail, sadly, in
Did
this.
Reggie pass recently?
I'm not sure. Did he? I'll be really sad if he did. Can you check that out?
Yeah, I'll check now.
Reggie Bannister.
I can check this second.
For anyone who doesn't know, Reggie Bannister is the sidekick in the Phantasm movies.
No, I'm really sorry. Reggie's not passed. He's fine. Sorry.
So for anyone who doesn't know, he drove the ice cream van in the Phantasm movies and helped take on the Tool Man in all of those. He's probably the only actor that was in every single Phantasm movie, because they swapped out the main actors a couple of times.
Yeah.
And Reggie Bannister comes in, and he's obviously one of the heads of like the nurses. And they say, well, we heard a scuttling. Elvis says, I heard a scuttling sound. You got bugs in here, big bugs. And they're like, okay, leave this with us. Get these two old people back to their beds. Morning comes, and it's penis cream time.
Penis cream time.
Here comes the nurse. She comes in, and this is where he sort of, in his narration, says, yep, so this growth on my pecker head, I think it's cancer. They're not telling me if it's cancer or not, but I'm sure it's cancer. And he thinks this is the reason why he can't get it up anymore. Not the fact he's like an 80-year-old man.
Yeah.
Just the fact that he's got this growth. So the nurse comes in, and the sound, the audio now is gross, because she slaps all this cream onto her hands, and you get like a real like sound. And then she reaches down, and she just starts applying cream all over his penis.
She doesn't, do you?
And she says, this should stop the pus, Mr. Presley. And while that's going on, because he's now got something exciting going on, this potential investigation with his buddy, he suddenly gets a woody.
He does, which surprises him.
He looks down and
he's
smiles.
Quite pleasantly surprised, though.
She says, Mr. Presley, you old rascal, you. And he says, why don't you pull on it a couple of times, huh? And she said, oh, God. No. Oh. And you think for a second she's thinking, no, she won't. And because it would be abuse. But she walks off, and he sort of just folds his hands behind his head, and he's nice and proud with a big smile on his face, and he looks down at it.
He's super proud of himself.
Like, this is the first hard-on I've had in 10 years. This is brilliant.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things that we're not there yet, Dan, and I imagine like when you lose your boner, that's quite a shit thing.
Oh, God.
I know.
Oh, dear.
I know.
Well, he's happy, he's proud, he's got his boner, and the reason he's got his boner is because, like I said, him and JFK got a cause, got a reason to live and to investigate what's going on now. So we have a meal time now, and we see all the crazy old people living in this old people's home. There's an old man dressed as a cowboy, and he says, this is my buddy Kimosabe. He thinks he's a cowboy. And he's just an old man who just shouts at everybody with fake guns and a cowboy hat. It's brilliant.
Asshole.
And he just keeps thinking about the bug and the fight with this scarab that he had. And that's all he can think about all the time. Yeah. So it's back to night time, and he wakes up again, and he sees some more visions of a woman being dragged away. And JFK appears at his door. And it's like these are the dream team now. They're the Scooby Gang now.
It is good, isn't it? Yeah.
And so they hear a scuttling sound, and he says, by the way, I do believe that you're the real Elvis. I've heard all the rumours, and I know they're to be true. As president, I was privy to all of that paperwork, so I know, that you are the real Elvis. And this really cements their friendship now, because Elvis is like, at last somebody believes me. Like, so he must be JFK. So they really buy into each other's stories now at this point.
Yeah.
And they go hunting. Elvis says in his narration, I feel livelier. Maybe it was that woody that I had earlier on today. And he says, but it's the adventure. It's the sense of adventure. And he says, I need to show you something, Elvis. Come with me.
He says it's an assassin. I love the fact that he says an assassin.
Well, he takes him in the toilets, first of all, doesn't he?
Oh.
And he says, look.
Like George Michael.
Oh, God. Rest in peace. You thrown me for that. I wasn't expecting that. He takes him in. So JFK takes him into the bathroom, and there's some graffiti on the wall, and it's hieroglyphics on the bathroom wall. And he says, I've translated this. It means Ho-Tep, which means a pharaoh. And Elvis is like, okay, this is weird. Like, how do you know this? Why have you translated this? Like, why would he write something on the bathroom wall? And this is where he says, they try to suck your soul, your life force, out of your asshole. And that's what I was doing on my bedroom floor the other night, Elvis. Is the guy came into my room, flipped me over, but before he could put his lips on my asshole, you came in, and he scared him off. So now they know that there's a soul-sucking demon that's sucking old people's buttholes in the old people's home.
Yeah.
I love this podcast because there's certain sentences in life that you never thought you just going to say, really, but
it happens.
That was one just then.
Yeah, it happens.
We see the nurse, the handjob nurse, taking a cigarette break.
Is that her name now, is it?
Handjob nurse, yeah.
Handjob nurse.
Either that or penis cream nurse.
Okay.
Handjob nurse, it just flows better.
The handjob nurse. Send for the handjob nurse.
Have you ever seen Handjob Cabin in the Woods, or whatever it's called?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either. I can't imagine it's very good.
No.
I'm sure it's probably an Amityville film as well. Amityville Handjob.
Amityville Handjob. Love it.
Well, there's Amityville Vibrator, isn't there? So there's got to be Amityville Handjob.
I guess.
Anyway, she takes a cigarette break. She hears some noises and sees some flashing lights coming from the garden shed.
Yeah.
And Bubba steps out of the shadows in front of her. He's quite good prosthetics.
It's
and sort of
okay. I think they're wise to not actually show him that much. I think
less is more.
Yeah, I think so for this case.
When he steps out of the shadows, he's watching. And we go back to Elvis and JFK. This is great. Elvis and JFK are doing some research about reincarnation and soul sucking. Again, a sentence you wouldn't really.
It's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah. And they start. They're both in their pajamas, by the way, just to paint the picture, because it's late at night and they should really be in their beds. And he says, "Yeah, it looks like he's an ancient mummy soul sucker." And this is where Elvis says, kind of like a Bubba Ho-Tep.
Yeah.
And they're like trying to figure out how he got to Texas and what he's doing there. And while that's happening, Kimosabi, the old man in the cowboy outfit, is sort of wandering around, and he gets his soul sucked, doesn't he?
He gets it sucked good and proper.
Kimosabi! So Elvis starts asking, why is he here? How is he here? And they hear some noises. Elvis says, I'll be brave. Yeah. I'll go out and see what it is. Yeah. JFK grabs a stick.
Yeah. I love them. They're such a dynamic duo, aren't they? They're like the nighttime Batman and Robin. They're just of the RAP parlour. They're just at nighttime, though.
Like Adam West and Dick Ward back in the day.
Amazing.
And Elvis sees Bubba walking towards him, Bubba Ho-Tep, and the lights flicker. It's that classic walking up the corridor and the lights are flickering, so you can kind of half make out what it is. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I don't know why Elvis is in tune so much with this, but he gets flashes of ancient Egypt. I guess Elvis is quite a spiritual person. That's why he gets all these visions and stuff like that. I don't know, but Bubba vanishes. The cowboys collapsed dead to the floor. But they say his soul is intact. We saved this one. He may be dead, but his soul is intact. And this is where he says, so it really is some kind of Bubba Ho-Tep. Yeah. Morning comes, another hearse. This time they drop him in the bushes. Whoops. They just pick him up. Don't worry, no one saw it. Pick him up.
Have you heard the bit where they found the hieroglyphics?
Yeah, we've done that.
Yeah, I love the fact where he says Cleopatra does the nasty. That's all he could figure out was what they came up with.
What do you think it means?
Cleopatra does the nasty. What?
Well, they're simple men.
They are.
So Elvis is in the garden and he's out there thinking about what they do next in their investigation. And the nurse comes over just to ruin it and says, Mr. Presley, it's time for your nap and your penis cream again. And he just looks at her and goes, fuck off. Yeah. And he feels really good saying that.
Yeah.
He's told what to do all the time being in this old people's home. He's actually, this is giving him life again, this whole adventure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they're then trying to figure out how this mummy can pass through walls. So they go and they head down to the river. He heads down to the river on a Zimmer frame. And he says, where did you come from, Bubba? How did you get here? And he finds a piece of a bus underwater.
Yeah, that's it.
There was a bus crash. And we'll cut forward to that rather than explain it later. So basically, they were transporting this mummy to a museum in Texas a while back, and the bus crashed off a bridge. The sarcophagus landed in the river, and the mummy somehow sprung to life, and it now feeds off the souls from the bottoms of people to keep alive. But it needs to feed every few days to keep alive, and that's what it's doing in this old people's home, because it knows it's got a constant supply of souls.
It's like Predator. If we know it bleeds, we can kill it. It's like once they start figuring out what it is, maybe they can. Oh, excuse me. Maybe they can try and work out how to get rid of it. It's good though for them because they're bored. It's such a fun thing for them to do in the evenings when everyone else is asleep. Nah, fuck up. But let's just go do this.
Yeah, and also that it's naughty because they should be in their beds, so they're feeling really like kids again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Getting out and running around. Back in his room, he's thinking about his penis.
Oh.
And he's thinking, I'm really pleased I got that hard on the other day, but what is that growth on the tip of it? Is it dick cancer?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it is. And then he puts his own cream on this time, doesn't he?
He does.
And the sound effects again are just awful, really. But it's great. It really sells it. He lies down on the bed and there's an Elvis 24-hour marathon on TV just to rub it in a bit more.
I know, it's so funny. Poor bless him. 24-hour movie fun, Elvis movie fun.
Just to rub it in and remind him of the glory days.
Like the nurse does with the ointment, rubs it in.
Oh, very good, Gar. Very good. He thinks about his wife, his daughter, his life regrets. Was it the right thing to do to give it all up and pretend to be an Elvis impersonator? Oh, who knows? But that's all halted when JFK comes in and says, I've done some research. And this is where they find out about the mummy, the bust, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And Elvis says, I saw it down by the river. We need to destroy him once and for all. So what we need to do is sleep in the day so that we can wake up at night, because they're old.
See, it's such fun little ventures for them.
And Elvis says, you know what? He says this to us, the audience. I played movies and heroes in all my movies, because Elvis was a film star, don't forget, guys. He was in loads of movies.
Yeah.
And he says, I've always been a hero in the movies, but never in real life. This is my chance to be a real hero. So him and JFK, he calls him up on this phone from his one room to the other, and he says, it's time to take care of business. We're going to kill us a mummy. And JFK's, of course, he's on board with this in his wheelchair. He's like, yeah, let's do this.
Yeah.
So nighttime comes. They load up on weapons and supplies. Elvis has got his sequined, he's dressed for the occasion. He's got his sequined jumpsuit on here.
Yep.
Which he could just about get into at his age, bless him. Surprised he didn't pop a hip getting into it. And they synchronise watches, don't they? They've watched too many spy films, but they're like, synchronised watches, okay.
Yep.
What's that going to do? It's just too
nothing at all, but it just for the crack of it. Yeah.
So Elvis in his Zimmer frame, JFK in a wheelchair, slow motion time. And we just get this beautiful shot of them slowly, really aching.
It's really nice. It was really good though, because they come out with like all in uniform, all dressed up and stuff, don't they? All ready, and it's like a cowboy movie, like all getting ready for the final battle.
And it is a bit like a western.
It's very much like a western, yeah.
It's like two old cowboys.
Yeah.
Have come back together for one final. There's a bad guy in town that they need to take out, and it's time for them to get together and do this. They have a little conversation where they reminisce about not being good dads. They both think they weren't good dads. Elvis says, I haven't really seen my daughter for years. JFK says, I don't think I was ever a good dad, especially when I was president. I was so busy. But he does say to him, I think, given our lives and our circumstances, Elvis, we were the best dads we could have been.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's quite a sweet little moment between them.
Yeah.
It's got a homemade flamethrower as well, hasn't he, Elvis?
I love the fact he pulls out a flamethrower. I'm just like, wow, okay.
He says to him, Mr. Kennedy, I've got one question before we go off on this mission and separate. And he's like, what's that, son? He says, how was Marilyn in the sack? And he says, I can't confirm that. That's confidential.
Yeah.
but she was crazy.
And it stomps off. Yeah, it's well funny. He all goes off in his wheelchair.
Elvis is like, I knew it. I knew she was a Hellcat in the bedroom.
Yeah, it's funny.
So they've separated now to try and draw out Bubba. And Bubba does creep up on JFK in his wheelchair. But Elvis knows he's watching from the shadows. But before he can get to him, Bubba vanishes because he's a scary magic mummy that can disappear and reappear. He keeps creeping up on them. Him and Elvis sort of tussle a little bit. Elvis falls down. He gets back up, strikes another kung fu pose. He's not going to do anything though, is he? He can't even lift his leg off the ground.
Well, no, that's why it's quite funny. There's all of these things, they don't need to synchronise their watches, but they do that because it's kind of funny.
JFK speeds up in his wheelchair and Bubba vanishes again and reappears and knocks JFK out of his wheelchair. So Elvis, as the wheelchair empty flies towards Elvis, he sort of dives into it and takes control of it and starts driving it around.
Yeah.
He heads back to the fight and Bubba is in the process of sucking on JFK's bottom to get the soul out. And there's a really cool thing they do here now where when Bubba Ho-Tep speaks, the words sort of come out like a cartoon out of his mouth.
Hieroglyphics come rolling out. It's a strange choice because they only kind of do that then, but it's a good one.
They do it 2 or 3 times maybe, and that's it. And then those hieroglyphics then turn into English, so we can see what he's saying. It's really cool.
Yeah.
And Elvis lights him up and says, "Sorry, man." Just takes him out. JFK's okay, but he's dying. And he says to him, "I've got to take care of business for you, JFK, haven't I?" And JFK says, "Take care of business." And he dies.
Yeah, he does.
So Elvis salutes him and says, "Okay, Mr. President, this is for you." And then, I don't know where he gets this from, but he says some magic words from this little book that they've got. They wrote down some magic words. It's all a bit crazy. Bubba gets back up. He speeds at Bubba in the wheelchair. Elvis just charges him. They fight in the wheelchair. So you've got Elvis Presley in a wheelchair fighting a mummy as it rolls down a hill. And they land at the bottom on the edge of the river. And Elvis has got broken ribs sticking out of his body. He's all beaten up.
Yep.
He gets him in the face twice here at this point. And then he lights him up again with the flamethrower. And you see all the souls leaving his body, leaving Bubba's body, returning to heaven or wherever the hell they're going. And later on, we see a flaming body, flaming body parts floating in the river. And Elvis is lying there. He says, "Dear God, I'm dying, but at least I still have my soul." And the stars above him turn into hieroglyphics that spell out "All is well." It's a very strange ending.
It is a really weird ending.
And his last words, of course, being Elvis Presley, are, "Thank you very much." And he dies. But I've written a strange ending, but quite a moving ending as well.
It's really, it is quite powerful in a little sort of way, I guess.
And it just goes to show, and we'll give our thoughts in a moment, but it just goes to show that Don Coscarelli is a really unique director. The Phantasm movies are so weird and wonderful, and I think the same for this. Really, it's just such a strange film.
It's a really strange film. It's a really strange choice, but he doesn't really sort of do like straight normal sort of films, does he? So.
But you've got to see it, like Bruce Campbell as Elvis with a black JFK in an old people's home taking out a mummy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not so much the mummy really or any of that. It's more the sort of friendship between those two, the microscope on growing old, especially growing old in an old people's home, but also how this little adventure, like you said, all the little things like synchronizing the watches. This is like the last little bit of excitement they're going to get in their lives really, and they're really, really buying into it. I really enjoy it. It held up well for me. I don't think it'll be for everyone though.
No, not totally. It's fine. This time round, it was alright. It's such a fun concept. You can't really ignore it. You kind of need to watch it. It's not like real hard horror or anything, but it's out there enough. So I think you kind of got to watch it.
It's got heart, hasn't it?
Yeah, totally.
It's a sweet movie.
If you've not seen it, you should probably watch it, but it could be a Sunday afternoon. You don't have to rush to watch it, but if you haven't seen it, you probably should check it out for sure.
Yeah, I'm going to definitely give it a thumbs up.
I'll give it a thumbs up if you haven't seen it. I have seen it, and it doesn't really do a huge amount more afterwards, I feel.
I think Bruce Campbell fans will really enjoy this the most.
Yeah.
And possibly Don Coscarelli fans, in other words, Phantasm fans, will really enjoy this as well.
I think, yeah, definitely, yeah.
But yeah, that's Bubba Ho-Tep.
Yeah, totally.
A weird and wonderful film.
Weird and wonderful. All right, well, that's that one. I suppose. Who's that?
Talking of weird and wonderful.
He is, isn't he?
He's worn his Elvis Presley costume in.
Weird and wonderful.
Bill, you've never played Elvis, and I can imagine you doing a fantastic Elvis impression, Bill. Yep. Look at that, shaking those hips.
Oh, God. What's he shaking there? Oh.
Thank you very much. Well, do you want to take us into World of the Strange, Bill, please?
Strange? World? Bill?
Hi, welcome back to World of the Strange.
World of the Strange. Oh, thank you very much. It's the World of the Strange.
World of the Strange.
Strange World.
Oh, still got some cup of tea.
Ooh,
a bit cold now, but.
Bill Murray, thank you for leading us in as you do every episode. So we've just talked about Elvis and being swapped out with an impersonator and all that kind of stuff. I thought we could look at some theories and conspiracies about Elvis being one of them, and many other celebrities that have died.
Yeah.
And potentially not died, and some of those some crazy conspiracies around that.
Okay.
Now, I must say, to be honest with you, I think the reason these conspiracies exist is because when someone like Michael Jackson or Elvis Presley dies, people just don't want to believe that they could be gone. No. So they sort of say, I've seen Elvis working in my local chip shop.
Yeah, it's like if, because there's obviously the odd thing here and there of Elvis and younger ladies, if these things were proven true, there'll still be people like Michael Jackson, not saying that anything happened there, but obviously, do you know what I mean? But as soon as someone says that, you're like, no, wait, even Puff Daddy. Yeah. You got fans still going, no, absolutely not, because they just have such fandom for them, they cannot believe it. So the same as what you're saying, they're dead. I will not believe that they're dead.
People do believe that Elvis is alive, and we'll get into this in just a moment. And actually, in Home Alone, in the scene with John Candy in Home Alone, there's a man stood behind him with a big beard, and everybody swears that it's Elvis. And he if to be honest, if he was going to hide out and for the rest of his life, he wouldn't show up as a cameo in the back of Home Alone, would he? Let's be honest.
No, not really.
But anyway, so yeah, some of the celebrities that people believe are still alive are Michael Jackson. Now and again, someone will see someone with a sheet over them getting out of a car and say, that was Michael Jackson. Now, there was a weird thing around when they brought his body to the hospital. Someone got out the back of the ambulance that looked just like Michael Jackson and walked in with a sheet over them with security guards. Could have been anyone, though. But there we go. Elvis Presley, obviously, is another person that people don't want to believe has died.
No.
Princess Diana faked her own death, some people think. There's a whole conspiracy around Kurt Cobain, whether he died or not. Tupac Shakur is apparently planning on making a comeback with an album.
I was going to say he's probably got another album.
His mum will have anyway. She's dead anyway. But
it's amazing after he died. At least 7 albums came out.
Yeah, but his mum was making the money, wasn't she?
And it's like, why are you putting out this drivel? Because it's obviously didn't release it for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think
I never thought of him as much a rapper, to be honest with you.
Good storyteller, really good actor.
Yeah, good actor. Yeah.
I don't mind some of his songs, but
yeah.
But there we go. So anyway, let's talk about some of these in a bit more detail. Let's talk about some of these conspiracies. Now, my wife believes this first one. Avril Lavigne.
What about her?
So the theory is that in the early 2000s, Avril Lavigne killed herself after becoming depressed that her music career was coming to like hitting rock bottom, and also her grandfather, who she was close to, died.
I'm not laughing because of the situation. I'm laughing because I think it's ridiculous. But yeah,
they then apparently employed a woman called Melissa Vandella, who looks exactly like her, to replace her.
She wasn't that like Avril Lavigne wasn't like. Okay, I suppose it's still got to get replaced, I guess.
And people say, like, you know what it's like, they compare the images next to each other, and they're like, her eyebrows are a slightly different shape and her nose has got a slight mole on it but not on that one. And so there's this whole theory that Avril Lavigne isn't actually the real Avril Lavigne. She died in 2000.
Okay.
And has been replaced by Melissa.
Who replaced Melissa?
I don't know. Avril Lavigne has actually said about the theory, it's so dumb, but I've heard worse rumours about me.
Yeah, it's ridiculously dumb. I want to know who replaced Melissa.
I couldn't tell you.
I think it's a domino effect.
Well, another one, a more recent one, is Kate Middleton. As we all know, sadly, she had, I think, stomach cancer. It was cancer of some kind. I think it was abdominal. And there were rumours that she died, and she's now got a body double going around with the prince. I don't know about that, but
that's just nonsense.
You don't believe it?
No.
Okay.
What next?
Okay. I'm wondering if you'll buy into any of these. You might have heard of this most recent one then. And this is linked into the P. Diddy thing.
P. Daddy?
P. Daddy.
Oh.
Jamie Foxx.
That sounds terrible in every sort of way.
Now, as we all know, Jamie Foxx randomly had this weird accident that no one knew anything about. He went into a coma for like 3 months. And then no one would explain what it was, none of the press, no one could find out why he was in a coma. And when he came out of the coma, he looked slightly different. His mouth and the way his beard grows and even his hairline are slightly different.
Was that because he's been in a coma?
And people are saying that he was killed because he was about to leak some of the stuff to do with P. Diddy, because he videoed a lot of the parties for P. Diddy. Which is true. He's really into photography and videography. But the theory is he was cloned. Gav. See that?
I was watching Invasion the other day with Nicole Kidman and Daniel Craig. I haven't finished it yet because I've never seen it. But that's Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which is obviously pod people and being cloned.
It's the worst remake of all of those remakes.
I was watching it. It was okay, but I haven't finished it, so it couldn't be that good.
Well, he put out a statement, Jamie Foxx. He said, I'm not a clone. I'm not a clone. A lot of people want me to not believe it, but I'm not a goddamn clone. That was his statement.
What if clowns start cloning and you get cloned clowns?
Clones.
Clones.
That's a movie, isn't it?
Yeah. I wouldn't like that.
Attack of the Clone.
Double gang of clowns.
You wouldn't like that.
No.
But they all look the same anyway. Not being racist to clowns, but they all look the same anyway. Do you know what I mean? Squeaky shoes, big
racist.
red nose. Clownist. Well, let's talk about Paul McCartney then.
I saw a clown the other day with Sarah. I'm sure I saw a clown the other day. She said, you don't like that? I said, no, I don't. Don't know where it was.
God.
Go on.
Paul McCartney.
Oh, yeah?
So the rumour is that he died in 1966, and because the Beatles were so popular, they just replaced him with a body double.
Oh!
Did you not hear about this?
Who did they replace him with? Like, they just pull someone off the street who can still go and sing songs and join the band, no problem.
Because if you play one of the songs backwards, it says, Paul is dead. Paul is dead.
I bet it does. I bet it sounds maybe like it, but I bet it doesn't say it.
Paul is dead.
Paul is dead.
Paul is dead.
Paul is dead.
He was being interviewed recently and he said, look, this rumour's been going on for 50 years. More than happy for it to just kind of keep going, really. But I'm not dead. obviously, I wasn't replaced. But that is one that, that's an old one. That's 50 years
I have
old.
kind of heard of that nonsense. I just don't go. I go in, out, shake it all about.
You do the hokey
And turn around.
Well, here's another one about Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves apparently is either a vampire or immortal. Now he has aged.
He has aged. Yeah.
But there are lots and lots of paintings from the Renaissance period, from the 1500s.
People look like him. But he's got that kind of look, though.
Well, he has got about 5 or 6 different nationalities in him.
Yeah, I can imagine.
He's got some Asian.
I was going to say he's got
Hawaiian.
Asian in him, definitely.
So he's just got a face that looks like a lot of people, maybe.
Mm.
But I have seen some of those old photographs and old paintings, and it does look like him in a lot of those, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And whenever he's asked about it, he just kind of laughs.
Fools.
But what if it's like the substance or something, and he's real, and he is just out there? Him and Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
Just living forever.
Forever and ever.
Because there's also, like, I've seen ones where it's like a photograph from the sort of 1800s, and it looks just like Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, totally. And people you say about Johnny Depp, and you look at Johnny Depp nowadays, and it's like, oh, he's obviously aging. So.
Yeah, that's true. Paul Walker is another one, apparently.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's passed away, though, so we should just respect his passing away, surely.
He'd had enough of the limelight, and apparently staged his... But then that again links into P. Diddy, because he was leaving a P. Diddy event in his car when his car mysteriously exploded in a ball of flames.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Another one is Eminem.
Yeah.
People say that he started rapping differently. I can't remember what year it was, and that's because Eminem died of a drug overdose.
So they just pulled someone else who can rap like Eminem.
So Dr. Dre just said, right, we need to get another white guy in who can rap like Eminem and looks like Eminem.
Look at Frank, the cleaner. What, the janitor? The cleaner. Go get him now.
Everybody want to talk? Let the gas and the say, but it comes out.
Look at him. Rap about cleaning the floor. Cleaning the floor. I'm sweeping it around, and it's perfect. All right, get him in.
Boom, shake the broom when I'm sweeping with the broom. Oh, you've got it.
In.
And Dre's just like, oh yeah.
Let's make some janitor music.
So there are many more of these, but the biggest ones are obviously Elvis, Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
The theory is, and this is ridiculous, that there's an island somewhere, a private island, where all these old celebrities have retired to.
You can go there and just be walking around and just these old celebrities.
You've got Bruce Lee sat in a deck chair.
Oh no, with Elvis Presley.
Elvis chatting about the good old days.
Come on, Bruce, show me some more moves. Not now. Chilling.
Hey, look, here comes Princess Diana. Hey, hello, Lady Diana. How are you? I'm good, thanks. Have you seen Marilyn? Me and her have got a nail appointment later on down on the coast. Just imagine this crazy. But then where do you draw the line? Who else is there? Is Jimmy Savile there?
Well, no, if you're not. And Bruce is like to Elvis, like, well, not now, but we could take that boat, go to that island. Hopefully Jimmy Savile's not there.
Who would win in a fight between Elvis Presley and Bruce Lee?
I thought you'd say Elvis Presley and Jimmy Savile. But I would pay good money for Bruce Lee to kick Jimmy Savile's ass.
I'd want them gloved up properly.
Who?
Bruce and Jimmy.
Right.
And I'd want to see it like a real fight. And Bruce Lee.
Oh yeah, because Jimmy Savile would think he's all that.
And Bruce Lee's got two. This is a very weird tangent. Bruce Lee's got two ways he could go about this. He could either toy with Jimmy Savile and just really break him down, or he could end it in one punch.
Yeah, I reckon I'd like to actually see Mr. T.
He's still alive.
Beat up Jimmy Savile, really for the reason that Mr. T is actually the chain man, and he doesn't like Jimmy. The fact that Jimmy Savile was an awful paedophile. He doesn't like the fact that he's got the gold chains and he's trying to rep Mr. T's style, so Mr. T's going to take him out. I'm going to let Jim all paint it. No, see if I do it.
And Slick Rick is the referee, because he's the other chain man, isn't he?
Why not?
Love it. That went off into a weird tangent. So, Gav, you do not believe that any celebrity has died and been replaced?
No, because I think I want to know who's replacing the replacee. It's just a vicious replacee loop, isn't it?
You don't believe in the Katy Perry one?
No, they're not being replaced.
So Jean-Benet Ramsey?
Well, okay. Who's been replaced? So Elvis died. We didn't have anyone. Elvis wasn't replaced. Didn't he's not there. He's dead.
But he's not dead.
But he's not dead. Okay, so we're saying then, anyone that's dead, celebrities, they've been replaced just because it's an easy get out because we still love them and our fandom's so extreme. Or the ones that are still here have been replaced because we don't like the songs that they're doing now or whatever.
Because they've changed their styles.
Is that it? They've been replaced, haven't they? It's such a sort of naive...
Oh, Beyonce did a country album. She must be a clone.
Ridiculous, naive go-to, isn't it?
But that's social media, isn't it?
That is pretty much the internet. That's pretty much the in the bubble social media nowadays. Absolute ridiculous scenario goes to that first before the normality. Anyway,
Bill, are you really Bill Murray, or have you been cloned? Okay, Dan Aykroyd. He's saying Dan Aykroyd isn't really Dan Aykroyd. Apparently, Dan Aykroyd was killed on the set of Ghostbusters 2 during a freak slime accident, and they replaced him with a body double.
Oh, and
I didn't know that.
Bill Murray, the real one, works now at a supermarket and on the tills. And sometimes when his till doesn't work in the mornings, he has till worry.
That wouldn't actually surprise me. If I went to my local supermarket and Bill Murray was in there, I literally
Bill
wouldn't
Murray
be surprised.
with till worry.
Just turn around. Excuse me, where's the bread? And it's just Bill Murray.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay.
So annoyingly, Bill Murray was on a Joe Rogan podcast recently. Bill Murray doesn't do podcasts, and I still haven't listened to it because
it's so funny because he doesn't
I will
know
listen
what a
to it
podcast
because of Joe Rogan.
But he doesn't know what a podcast is, so he keeps getting up, walking off, and they're like, no, you need to be near the microphone. And he's like, is this live then? Are people listening to us now? And they're like, no, it's a podcast. And he doesn't know what a podcast is.
There's no way he doesn't. It's so I've explained to my dad, who forgets things, who's quite old, what a podcast is. It's like a radio show, yeah. It's fairly simple. He just ridiculous. It's almost like it's a fucking act, isn't it?
But Joe's cracking up, obviously, and he's saying, like, who's listening to us now then? How many listeners do you have? And Joe's like, I'm probably the most successful podcaster ever. Like,
I just don't like him anymore. I'm so annoyed that I don't like him anymore, and I don't want to get into that.
I don't listen to his show anymore, but I listen to clips of him talking to the people I'm interested in. And this ancient Egyptian stuff. I'll do that. Anyway, let's get off this. All right, Bill. Shake your funky sequin suit and take us out of here.
Let's have a trailer for Army of Darkness as well, Bill. Can you slip that in?
Thank you very much.
That's all the time we've got for this week on World of
Strange.
Next week, though, Gimme Ira. Hairless pets. Weird.
In an age of darkness.
May God have mercy upon your souls. Something's wrong. Something's amiss.
And a time of evil.
You shall die!
When the world needed a hero.
The swallow souls. I don't want to die!
What it got was him.
Groovy. You know your shoelace is untied.
He's a 20th century guy.
For that arrogance, I shall see you dead.
Trapped in the Middle Ages.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up. This is my boomstick.
Now, let's talk about how I get back home.
Foretold by a mystical book.
Within its pages are passages that can send you back to your time.
Forewarned by a wise man.
You must recite the words Klaatu, Berata, Niktu.
I got it.
Fulfilled by a wise guy.
Klaatu, Berata,
When thou misspoke the words, the army of the dead awoke.
Now he's got a date.
Give me some sugar, baby.
Sheila!
With the army of darkness.
You found me beautiful once.
Honey, you got real ugly.
Sound the trumpets. Raise the drawbridge. Drop the Oldsmobile. From Sam Raimi.
Oh, that's gonna hurt!
Director of Darkman. Comes Army of Darkness. They live. They breathe. They suck. Army of Darkness.
Army of Darkness from 1992, rated 15, an hour and 21 minutes. That's a short one, actually. When Ash Williams, Ash obviously who we know from the Evil Dead series, is accidentally transported to 1300 AD, he must retrieve the Necronomicon and battle an army of the dead in order to return home. It's a fun. It's a weird one. It's a fun one. It's I said to you recently, well, no, last year or so, I said this is a perfect gateway into horror for kids. Perfect, I think.
Yeah, the path to follow would be get them into the Harryhausen movies.
Yeah.
And then show them this, because it's got the skeletons, it's got the zombies, it's got the creatures. But then you've got Ash in the middle of it all, swearing and shooting.
And it's slapstick humour and stuff. It's perfect. I'll say it. 7, 8-year-olds get them to watch this. Even 6-year-olds probably be fine.
Yeah, I mean, apart from the few F-bombs.
Yeah. But it'd be like, whatever. Don't worry, kids. Just don't say it.
Yeah, not like my son.
Yeah.
This is probably, I'm not sure if this is the first Evil Dead movie I saw. This could even be the first Bruce Campbell movie I ever really remember seeing.
Yeah, I think obviously being a higher, quite a production at this point, like money-wise and stuff, like you got to remember at this point here, it's the fucking VHS boom at home, so there's a lot of money being thrown at films, and studios at this point, we had loads of stuff come out which you wouldn't probably come out nowadays, and it's it's a really strange one as well, a fantasy type film. But there's a lot of fantasy films, and we were just talking just a moment ago about Willow. What year was that?
Willow was 87, I think, 86, 87.
So there was quite a lot of big major sort of fantasy films, and this does fall into that sort of fantasy action horror film.
Yeah.
But I think it's really accessible for most ages, really. I think it's such a weird one. It's quite a fun movie. It is quite a weird one. It's not my go-to if it comes to an Evil Dead. I want to do like pure horror or
It is my favourite Evil Dead movie. It's like a comfort blanket. I've seen it.
That's probably nostalgia.
So many times. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Evil Dead 2 is like the best horror.
But they're different films. This isn't this with a cabin film in the woods are different films.
Well, it's just crazy that it still feels like an Evil Dead movie, but this one involves time travel, knights, a skeleton army.
It does, but that's because you got the actor, you got the chainsaw, you've got the Necronomicon,
the director.
Got the director who's obviously doing the shots of the, the evil
by this point,
dead.
And by this point, Bruce Campbell knows Ash so well.
Yeah.
He is Ash, let's be honest. That you can really put Ash in any situation and it'll work. And talking of which, on a quick tangent, there's 2 new Predator movies coming out this year, both secret. One of them they've announced a teaser poster for, and it's a pirate's treasure chest with the shadow of the Predator looming over it.
Oh, because
so it looks like Predator versus. So it's a new Prey movie.
Yeah, but by Dan Trachtenberg, who directed the Prey.
So it looks like that one's going to be Predator versus Pirates. The other one, no one knows anything about.
It's the World War II one.
I don't know if it's that or the samurai one. There's apparently one about. There's talk of one where a samurai has to take down a predator. But it looks like this first one that's coming out very soon is going to have pirates in it.
Well, I'd like to see the World War II one.
The thing is, and I was talking to our buddy RJ about this the other day. The Predator, like Ash, you can put the Predator in some fun situations, couldn't you? Pirates. You could put him in. Obviously, we've never really seen him in space.
Oh yeah, of course.
You could do anything with the Predator.
Always throw. Yeah, of course.
And similar to Ash, there was a rumor for a long time that Freddy versus Jason versus Ash was going to come out, and then there was a rumor that it was going to be Ash versus Pinhead. I'm glad they didn't do any of those crossovers. I think it would felt a bit cheap and silly, but certainly in comic books, there's been Marvel comic books where it's Ash versus, Ash and the Army of Darkness versus Freddy and Jason, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
A bit crazy, but it is what it is. But yeah, this movie is just fun, and it's got my favourite lines in it, my favourite quotes from Bruce Campbell as well. But it's also a chance for Sam Raimi to get a huge budget at the time and basically compose a love letter to Ray Harryhausen and do all the things he wanted to do in the first 2 Evil Dead movies and just go for it, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Skeleton stuff, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Let's get into
a lot of practical stuff in it as well.
Yeah, totally. It's good, actually. It was still in that era of not getting into CGI just yet, and if it was stuff like the Lawnmower Man. And it's like, let's stay away, shall we, for the moment?
Let's not talk about the Lawnmower Man. Okay, so we start off with a bit like...
narration again, yeah.
And also a bit like your Conan movie or something. We've got Ash, and he's in chains.
Oh, yeah.
And he says, "My name is Ash. I bet you're wondering what I'm doing here in 1300 AD. Let me tell you." And we flash back to him, obviously working it.
So it's narration again, isn't it?
It is, and he does it well.
Yeah, he does.
He always does. And he flashes back to him working in S-Mart, and he's got his girlfriend Linda, who it's a cameo from
Evil Dead.
No, it's
is it Cena?
Bridget Fonda.
Oh yeah, no, it is. That's right.
Yeah,
totally. I was watching that with watching it with Sarah, and I was like, "Is that Bridget Fonda?" There's just one scene or shot. She looked like Bridget Fonda, and then the next shot she didn't, and then right at the end of the credits, it's like, "Oh yeah, it was."
Yeah, Bridget Fonda, who got rogered by Robert De Niro in Jackie Brown.
That's all you remember her for.
She's been in a lot of other things, but
that is a very memorable scene because it made, as a young lad watch it, you're like, never has this situation arisen for me.
With Bridget Fonda, especially.
No.
Anyway, his girlfriend and him were working in S-Mart, and he sort of very, very loosely recaps the first two films. We went on holiday to a cabin. We found a book. I read from the Book of the Dead. I had to chop off my hand. Then a vortex opened, and I got sucked in, and here I am. And then you get this cartoony sort of thing. And what I love is the official title really is Bruce Campbell versus the Army of Darkness.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, like on screen it says Bruce Campbell versus the Army of Darkness, which I kind of love because the character might as well just be called Bruce Campbell. Do you know what I mean?
See, this should have been My Name is Bruce, shouldn't it? And it's actually him, and it's like, my name's Bruce Campbell. I was an actor in another life.
And I found it
like
real life.
Sucked into a vortex to play the character I was in a movie. That'd be well cool.
Yeah, it would be. I'd love to see that.
It's kind of Schwarzenegger, Last Action Hero, I suppose, in a sort of way.
And we get the scene of Ash falling from the sky, and the car, the Oldsmobile that's in every movie.
Sam Raimi's car, yeah.
Lands on the ground, and they're suddenly surrounded by some knights.
Loads of knights on horses.
One of them looks very much like Ryan Gosling, the leader. Of the good guys. Looks like Ryan Gosling in my opinion. And of course we've seen this multiple times, but the old man says, "Oh, it's him, the prophesized one, the one to fall from the sky and save us all." And
Ryan Gosling doesn't like that fact, does he? He's kind of looking, going.
He says it's one of Henry's men.
Come on, grab
throw him in the pit.
And they're like, "What a piece of armor this is!" And they're just stabbing the car.
What could it be? So funny. It is really, really funny and slapstick. But done like all the guys that play the knights,
because they
straight
head,
so
straight. Yeah, straight.
So that's what makes it so funny.
Yeah, totally. He's taken in cuffs with all the Henry, this long red-headed man who looks kind of Viking-ish, in cuffs with a few others, taken away to a castle.
Yeah, a big fort, like a big castle where all the good guys live, and he sees Sheila, who he'll get to know later. And he sees her, and he's stoned. They throw loads of stones at him.
Not the weed type,
Not the weed type, no. And Sheila comes up to him and spits in his face because they think he's
part of Henry's team, and he doesn't even. And after a while, because not yet though, he still hasn't really decide to start protesting against the saying condemning him, until they go pulled up to this pit sort of thing, and they're kind of standing there, and he's like, "What's going on?" And they're all like, "Yeah!" All the villagers are there. "Yeah, throw him in!" It's all like a real fun game. It's entertainment for them, like beheadings were in France many years ago.
And he says to Henry the Red, "Why don't you tell them that I'm not with you?" And he's like, "No, they won't believe you anyway."
There's no point.
He says, "Well, who are you?" And he says, "I am Henry the Red, leader, brave Viking," whatever he says. And he says, "Well, hello, Mr. Fancy Pants." Typical Bruce Campbell. And probably one of the best lines ever. He says to him, "Let me tell you something, buddy. You're only leading two things right now, Jack and shit. And Jack just left town." It's so good.
At this point, Bruce Campbell knows Ash that well, though, doesn't he? He can play this so easily. And Sam Raimi as well, though.
Yeah, he had lived a lot of his stuff as well.
Sweet. But then they're standing there, and they see this guy just is thrown into this pit, and all of a sudden, like the blood splurt is like some Japanese samurai movie.
Well, it's enough blood to fill about 20 human bodies that comes out of this
crazy
pit.
And then he's like, "What the fuck?" And he's like, "I'm not with this guy. I'm not. You gotta believe me." And then someone throws a rock at his head, and as he's protesting, and he slowly spins around one leg, slowly back up towards the pit, and in he goes. And I love this pit. It's like Star Wars with Luke Skywalker, but
this
better.
Old lady, when he falls in, this old lady is a real Sam Raimi close-up of an old lady going, "Yeah!" She's
that's the comical stuff of it. Yeah, absolutely.
One guy tries to run off, by the way.
It's like
they take him out with arrow cam. Do you remember typical Sam Raimi?
Yeah,
there's a brilliant shot, and that was used in Kevin Costner's Robin Hood. Which came out probably a little bit before this, around about the same time, where whenever Kevin Costner would fire an arrow, we would be like, as an audience, "Oh my God, we've never seen anything like it. It's like we're on the arrow flying through the air." But it was just done so casually by Sam Raimi, because he kind of invented that.
It's that camera just following along the thing which is going along, or like basically Evil Dead when it's shooting through the cabin doors, open up the doors, and it's the camera's point of view. That's really good. So I like this cave that he's in, this swamp cave type dwelling that he's fallen into.
Really good tension.
Isn't it cool? Oh yeah, because it goes real quiet up above as well.
This
when
is
about
Sam Raimi doing some great horror tension.
It looks good as well. It's Luke Skywalker's nightmare.
And you've got Bruce Campbell spinning and looking behind him, and looking behind him, and the camera's creeping up. He doesn't know what it is.
I got to say, earlier on I said this, and it's a bit of a spoiler to me, but I think this, at the end of it, the film has quite a long fight scene, which it could have been cut down by a good 7 minutes, probably 10 minutes maybe even. And this film's only an hour and 24. I do wonder that, obviously, I reckon they've just extended that and thought maybe it's going to be longer. I reckon maybe on paper they thought this film's a lot longer, because they get into this movie so quickly. It's like, how far into this movie? Not at all. And we're like in a castle, we know who people are. It's like super, like, boom. I wonder if they'd have done that a bit of a build-up, because it's just like he's there. You didn't have the build-up of him beforehand on Earth for 15 minutes, and then all of a sudden he's there, then it goes. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because this is the first time we've caught our breath.
It's weird. It's just like, go, go, go. And I feel like that might have been in the editing where they went and did that, and they just thought, oh, we don't really have an opening, maybe. I don't know.
And then we get this witch demon pop out of the water and just start punching Bruce Campbell in the face repeatedly. So he starts fighting back, which is
real
quite
slapstick
comical.
humour again, isn't it? But the thing is, I say it's a gateway for kids. This monster, it's a little bit of tension, but no more than Empire Strikes Back or something. Do you know what I mean? Like it's. I think it's not that scary though. It's still quite, because the slapstick humour and the punching, it makes it not as bad.
And then one of the crowd shouts out, "The spikes!" So they start turning this wheel, and the spike starts. So the room now starts shrinking with spikes on the walls while he's fighting this witch thing. One
thing Sam Raimi does do, which is his style as well, is using like wide lenses, kind of like I don't know, like 12 millimeters, 10 millimeters, almost not fisheye, but like close to that, and going really close to face. So when Bruce is fighting with the witch, it keeps cutting to like their face real close up of him, like going, ah, and just doing like a real facial expression, and then her, and then the fight, and then a bit more. And that's such a Bruce Sam Raimi thing to do as well, and he continues doing it through this quite a lot, and it makes it more slapstick.
And I've said it before, and I will say it again. Sam Raimi is in my top 3 horror directors. Number 3, Argento and Carpenter were above him. But the reason he's in my top 3 is because he kind of invented this style, which has been copied now. But there is a Sam Raimi style, and it is a real mix of horror and slapstick that you've never seen before. The Evil Dead movies really came out. And he does it so well when he does it right.
It's also obviously when you do something after a while and you do it a lot of times, you kind of know how to perfect it a lot more. And obviously he's seen from when shooting something, the editing, going, oh, I wanted this to be like because he's a massive Three Stooges fan. I wanted it to be like Three Stooges in a way, but that didn't work. So maybe if I next time put the camera closer to the face and have a wider lens, that will get the effect. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We had this recently. We were in a gym filming some martial arts stuff, and Ben was there with, and he only had anamorphic lenses, and we were shooting with anamorphic lenses. And I got back and I was like, we can't shoot jiu-jitsu with anamorphic lenses. You need a wide lens. You've got to be close up so you can get the action shots. Otherwise, it just looks shit. It just looks dull and boring. So. Yeah, they're having those big close wide ups that make things look great, and it works really well with the slapstick humour that we have with this.
Now, while Bruce is fighting this witch in the pit, there's only one person
witch in the
cast, a witch in the pit, baby. There's only one person that believes that he really is still the prophesied one, and that is the wise old man.
Yeah, totally. And listen, everybody, let's listen to the wise guy.
He's called the wise man.
There's a reason. Anyway, I love the fact. What does he say? Something man.
It's a strange one.
Strange one, and it throws the chainsaw down, and it's perfect. Like.
Oh, it's just hero.
It just dives up, and the chainsaw and arm connect.
This is before any Captain America movie or anything would have caught his shield or Thor catches his hammer. Yeah. This is Bruce Campbell up in the air. Clicks onto the end of his wrist, and he's got a chainsaw, and he goes,
and he chops the head off.
He says, "Hey, she bitch. Let's go." And then they just go for it, and he chops her head off. And then another one pops out the wall.
It does, and then at this point the spikes are coming loads, and we've got with this the difference to the other movies, especially Evil Dead 1. Can you tell me the score from Evil Dead 1? Can you give me any idea of the music? It's all just That's all it is, really. But this, though, we've got a massive orchestral score.
Because it's Danny Elfman.
Wow.
We should talk about that.
Didn't realise that.
And that's why this film feels so epic, because not only is it a real tribute to Harryhausen later on anyway,
but yeah, it's got also epic score.
Elfman's score is absolutely wonderful in this.
Yeah.
And he's best known working with Tim Burton, but this is great to see him coming and working with Sam Raimi, Danny Elfman, it's just incredible. And you could say Danny Elfman's, some of his scores sound similar to each other, but you could say the same with John Williams.
Oh, it doesn't matter. That's what makes them that. That's what makes them. You're like, I want a Danny Elfman score. Oh, let's get Danny Elfman. I want John Williams.
Yeah, so a lot of people don't realise it. Yeah, it's a Danny Elfman. That's why the score would stand out. So he manages to get out of the pit by grabbing onto a chain.
All right, who wants some? Come on. He just spins around, going, people, you. I love the poor guy that he picks on. You, come on, you want some? And and he goes, right, and he's there, he's like a little ball sort of guy. He's there going, no. He's looking at everyone. Everyone's moving away from him, and he's looking at, no, I don't want anything. You want some? Come on, you. And it's just a no.
Well, he frees Henry and his men because really they weren't really anything to do with them. They're prisoners.
Yeah, well, he says to them, he says, all right, let him go. And Henry's like, really? Like, amazing. He looks at one of the guys and grabs his cheek and goes, ha, 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 and goes running off and, just so happy. And they're like, no, stop there. Ryan Gosling's like, stop there. And then he tries to do something to. Oh yeah, he has an Indiana Jones session goes on, doesn't he? Where he basically comes out with a knife to have a sword fight with Ash, and Ash just blows the fucking with a shotgun, blows the sword in half.
He says the classic. This is my boomstick.
Yeah. He just shuts. I love the power dynamic switch there. He just shuts Ryan Gosling down in seconds just by shooting a sword in half. So look, shut the fuck up. Don't even talk to me. You're the same as any of these people. No matter, no different.
He says, any of you primates come near me, and boom, and they all sort of like cower because they've never seen a gun before, obviously. And then while all that's going on, the demon that he thought he killed is climbed out of the pit.
Very quickly though, when he's telling them about the gun, it's like he's doing a pitch for his shop, because he's telling them how much it is and what oil it's on, and they're all just starting looking at it, going, oh, and then he goes, boom. Oh. It's really, really well done. It's really a great monologue. Sam Raimi's done a really great job of directing this.
He shoots the she-demon back into the pit.
Spin that gun spin.
He does an Arnie spin, puts it in his, in Terminator 2, then he puts it in his
that is
holster.
That's an Ash spin, because he just goes, and it's, whoa, that's well cool.
He looks so heroic. And we said it earlier in this episode, but he is also such a leading man in this, so handsome. They've made him look, and he's ripped as well. He looks, Bruce Campbell's really worked out for this role.
He looks like he's done a bit of work now.
Yeah, he looks great, and that shot there, of him spinning the gun and putting it in the holster on his back is just a hero, isn't it? A hero shot.
Yeah,
looks so good. And then he says, "Now let's talk how I get back home," to the old man, and we cut to him then eating grapes. Girls are feeding him grapes,
this is really funny, yeah.
He's loving life, and they're sort of the wise man sort of saying, well, what we need to do is get the Necronomicon and read some of these pages out. And he's like, oh, not that fucking book again, Jesus Christ. And he says, but if you can read them out, then, you can get home. And you're the only one that can quest to find the book. And then a demon woman appears.
Yeah.
And sort of screams at him, we will swallow your souls, all of you are doomed, an army of the dead will arise and take you all down, da 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 da. And then it collapses on the floor. And we get another great line from Ash, a really random line where he goes up, and again it's Sam Raimi. The camera is really up close to this woman lying on the ground's face.
Yeah.
And her eyes open as Ash gets close to her, and you think, oh, she's going to turn around and bite him or something. And then he stops and he goes, it's a trick. Get an axe. Because he knows, he's dealt with these things before. He knows an axe is the best thing. And this is where he starts fighting her, and then he does that no-look shot with a shotgun where he puts it on his shoulder, and she's coming up behind him, and he blasts her head off, and he just goes, blows it off. It's just so fucking cool.
Yeah.
It's the coolest Bruce Campbell has ever looked. Yeah. And he says, okay, I'll take your quest. I'm the chosen one, I guess. I'll have to go and find this book and read the words, and it's the only way I'm going to get home. He's selfish at this point. He's being selfish, but it's the only way he's going to get home.
Yeah, totally. But the movie's shooting through here, though, isn't it?
Yeah, because the next thing we see is the blacksmith builds him a new hand, out of like a suit of armor with like working like fingers and mechanism. So that's how they kind of get away with him not having to have a stump for the whole movie.
Yeah.
So he's got this and then while he's fixing the hand and making sure it works, Sheila comes to visit him because she's now impressed with him, even though she's spat in his face. But he doesn't give a shit about her. She walks in and he goes, close the door. Were you raised in a barn or something? He's so rude to her.
Yeah, he is.
She's like, oh, I just came to give you this, I made this for you. It took me hours. And he goes, good, I need a horse blanket. And she's made him like a nice coat. And he's like, good, I need a horse blanket.
Yeah.
And then she goes to leave and he grabs her and he says, give me some sugar, baby. And they kiss and then they make love in front of the fire.
This, though, the way he looks at it is so traditionally handsome, like something from the 50s or something. Do you know what I mean?
He has got a 50s Hollywood look about him, hasn't he?
Yeah. Especially here, though, with the fire going and stuff. It looks very classic.
Give me some sugar, baby. What a line. Imagine saying that to somebody.
You should say it to Alice later.
Get slapped. I'd get slapped. Or she'd literally just pass me the bowl of sugar from the kitchen.
If I said to say, give me some sugar, baby, she'd give me a kiss. She'd give me some sugar.
Yeah, but she's seen this movie.
Yeah, oh, true.
Well, morning comes and it's time for Ash to head out. So he grabs a horse and him and some other men head out, and they get as far as they can, and they say to him, right, from here on you have to go alone now.
Yeah.
And the wise man says to him, and when you find the book, these are the words you must say. Clactu... What is it? I can't remember what it is now.
Yeah, and he's just like, he says it a couple of times. He says, say it again. He says, I've got it. Because he's like, I know your damn words. Which is so funny.
But those are the words from The Day the Earth Stood Still, that classic B movie, which Keanu Reeves was starring in the remake of. When the alien arrives, it says Clactu Vorotu Nictu, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So Sam Raimi just stole those totally. Anyway, he says, all right, I'll go. And he doesn't know the words really, but it's Ash Williams. Well, he's going to fuck it up.
We know we're going to get to that point. He's not going to know what he's supposed to say. We just know it, don't we? We can get there and he's going to fuck that up. So
Ash gets to a place that he's been in many times, a foggy forest, a misty forest. And we get this is our first time we get the Evil Dead cam now with the...
Yeah, so it's nice.
And we're like, okay, we're back in that territory now. Okay, good. We get that. So the evil is here, and it chases Ash, and he's running. And this time, it's not just him running; it's splitting trees in half. He's diving over puddles, falling down hills. A branch hits him in the face. Yeah. He falls off his horse. He carries on running on foot, and he heads into a windmill.
Yeah.
And apparently this whole windmill bit was added because the movie wasn't long enough. So they came up with this whole windmill scene.
See, this is my issue with this. I think because an hour and 24 minutes is really random time. I think that they really underestimate, or they didn't have time to film it all, or something happened. Because I think there's definitely some issue where they just didn't film enough and went, fuck, we haven't got enough stuff here. Which is really weird. It doesn't, I don't know, something's gone wrong.
Well, it's good that they put this in because it does tie into how the evil Ash comes about, the bad Ash. Because he's in this windmill and he locks all the doors and the evil can't get in. It's battering on the door, but it can't get in. And the sun goes down and, we see the windmill turning and that's fine. And he lights a fire. He accidentally smashes a mirror. Because the evil is sort of lurking, he looks down at the mirror and all the little reflections of him all become real. So there's like 10 little tiny ashes. And this is kind of like the scene with the hand from Evil Dead 2 now, where it sort of flips him off and is chasing him around.
Yeah.
So this was... A lot of these ashes are some of his relatives. Like I think his brother and his dad played some of the little ashes, as well as other stuntmen that happen to look a bit like him. It's all, done practically, and then sort of... How would they spliced it in? Blue screen back then? Rear screen projection. I don't know.
It looks like rear screen projection. It looks very much like rear screen.
But it's cool. He manages to kill a couple of the tiny ashes, and then they tie him up like Gulliver's Travels. He sort of wakes up and he's got 2 of them above him holding a third one, and they let him go and he dives into his mouth and he swallows.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
It's cool. And he's like, and he's punching himself in the stomach trying to get it out. Then he pours boiling water down his throat, and then he hears when he pours the boiling water in, but it's already in him, and he feels something on his shoulder itchy, rips his shirt, and there's an eyeball, and he says, it's growing bigger, and he runs out.
It's well good, isn't it?
It's great effects, because what they've done is, so basically there's another Ash growing out of him. And what they've done is they've just got Bruce Campbell and then got a prosthetic of a torso of another Bruce Campbell on him. And he's sort of fighting it and running along. But then they cut to a weird, what do you call it? Like claymation version of it, like stop motion.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
So Sam Raimi's throwing all of this stuff in.
Yeah.
And eventually they split into 2 ashes.
Yeah. It's really funny stuff. I imagine though this must have probably taken up a while to do some of this stuff. So I wonder what happened. I do think there must have been some troubles with production. They just underestimated something.
Well, they have an argument with each other. He says, "Who are you?" And he's like, You're the good Ash. I'm the bad Ash. You're the goody two-shoes Ash. And they do a whole Three Stooges thing where they fight each other and slap each other and kick each other.
Yeah.
And then he keeps saying, you're the good Ash. You're the good Ash. And then good Ash blasts his in the face with a shotgun, and he just goes, I ain't that good.
Yeah.
Which is great. And then he dismembers himself. He's the bad version of himself, and buries him in the ground.
Yeah.
He wakes up and he says, "Oh, you'll never get," and he says, "Whatever," and he throws dirt all over him, and carries on with his quest, leaving the dismembered, bad version of himself in a hole.
Edge just chops himself up and buries him, doesn't he?
He then enters the graveyard. Classic.
Well, he's back to the mission now of going to get the book. This is what his mission was. And I do feel it's funny though. Again, it'd be an hour and 24 minutes, but it does seem like it's shooting through so quickly for such a movie. It's so short, but at the ending, it seems so long and drags. It's really weird.
This is where, when he enters the graveyard, this is where Danny Elfman's score really comes alive, really, and you realise this is, it's quite epic, really, for such a small budget at the time, really. And he finds not one Necronomicon, Gav, but 3.
Is that? He didn't say 3.
So he's like, well, what do I do? So he opens the first one, and there's just a vortex that sucks him in immediately. And a great practical effect as he's trying to get back out, where his whole face is distorted. It's very Looney Tunes, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's like spinning his head to get his face back to normal. And he goes, okay, that's the wrong one. Let's try the next one. So the next book is alive, because obviously the Necronomicon has a face on the front. It takes off like a bat, starts flapping around, attacking him and biting him. Eventually, he defeats it and puts it back on the slab. So he's like, well, it must be the third one then. So before he opens the book, before he picks it up, he's got to say the words. Can't remember them, can he?
No, of course he can't.
So he says, Black 2, brother. He just sort of coughs. Which basically means when he picks this book up in a second, he's going to curse their whole land with evil because he hasn't said the right words.
No.
He grabs the book. Lightning crashes down, and the whole graveyard all the skeletons start rising out of the graveyard. They grab him. They sort of pull at his face. Skeleton hands are poking him in the eyes. He bites one of their fingers. He manages to get out of there. Little does he know, sadly, he's also awakened Bad Ash, who's going to lead this army of darkness.
I know, he's just turned completely different, hasn't he?
Just because he couldn't be bothered to remember those 3 words. Lazy. Half a job.
Yeah.
He gets back to the fort, and everyone's like, the hero has returned! The hero, you're here, strange one, prophesized one. And after about the 4th person sort of hugging him, he just goes, get the fuck out of my face. And just pushes them out of the way.
Yeah.
And then he starts like washing his face off with water. Did you say the words, strange one? Did you say the words? He's like, yeah, I said your words.
He didn't. Why did he even say that?
He says, now how do I get home? And then they realise, no, the army of the dead has awoken. You didn't say the words, did you?
No.
Sheila says to him, so when you go back, because this is like your Han Solo moment now. He said he'd be like a hero, but once he's got what he wants, he's just going home. And Sheila says, but you said things to me when we were making love. I thought you'd be a real hero. And he says, that's just pillow talk, baby. Come on.
What a bastard.
But she still believes in him
until
the winged demon arrives and picks her up for a little spin.
Yeah.
So this horrible witchy demon thing flies down, grabs Sheila, takes her off somewhere. We're going to find out where she goes in a moment. Because Bad Ash is commanding a huge skeleton army, and he's like, come on boys, dig them up. And we've got a really good blend now of practical effects, stop motion animation, just like Harryhausen would have done, and then like some other like puppetry thrown in, and it's just all layered in nicely. And if you look, you can see the stitches, you can see the flaws, but the point is it's fun and it's not taking itself seriously. And basically these skeletons are digging up more and more skeletons to create this army.
Yeah.
All under the the watchful eye of Bad Ash, who I believe Bruce Campbell played him as well, right?
I presume so.
I couldn't really see or find out, and I've never really known. But they bring Sheila.
Bill Moseley's a Deadite captain.
Yeah, but he's not. I don't think he's Bad Ash. He's just one of the skeletons.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's weird. We should mention Bill Moseley is in this film.
Yeah.
Which is strange. As is, of course, Ted Raimi in 3 different roles.
Yeah.
Ted Raimi shows up in a lot of Sam Raimi movies as well.
It doesn't say, so I don't know, unless it's Bill Moseley. I don't know.
Well, they bring Sheila as a hostage to Bad Ash, and he basically grabs her and forces her to kiss him. And that is going to turn her into an evil version of Sheila, a possessed version, which we'll see her in just a moment. So she's now been captured and turned. Cut back to Ash giving a speech as the army are approaching the castle. He's giving this speech. Let's fight. We can do this, guys. Who's with me? Is everyone with me? And they're like, yeah, we believe in you, Chosen One. Great, we can do this. So he somehow, even though he's fucked up, he's still managing to win them over. Sheila is then introduced, Bad Sheila is introduced to the skeletons. And they were like, oh, look at her. So one of them says, what a sight for sore bones she is. Oh, she's beautiful. And, weird. Ash says to them, look, we'll use science to win. I just so happen to have in the trunk of my car dozens of books on how to make gunpowder, science, bullets, propulsion, engines. Why has Ash Williams got loads of science books in the trunk of his car?
I'm not sure.
But it's handy because we get a montage now of them making an engine for the car, like a steam engine, a big propeller that they're going to fit on the front of it to chop the skeletons up. They also create gunpowder. And the old man almost puts it in the candle, and Ash is like, whoa, careful. This is gunpowder. You don't know what this is. I'll show you what this is in a moment.
Yeah.
And then he trains them all with spears. Don't know what he knows about fighting.
No, but he does does this move. It's up, down, move, push along sort of thing. And they do the move later on, and it does seem to work.
Yeah. This is your classic Western where...
It's the build-up. It's like Lord of the Rings. It's like the Two Towers.
But it's also your Western where it's like there's only a dozen people in the town and one man's going to teach them how to take down a whole army, that kind of thing, And this is where it kind of just goes into this giant battle now.
Yeah.
Where... we couldn't really talk about it now because it really is just a showcase. And yes, it does drag.
It goes on and it goes on and on and on. But
it is a showcase of effects, gore, but also swashbuckling, stunts. It is fun, but once you've seen this movie several times, you may get bit bored by this point.
Yeah, because you have the classic build-up stuff of the alchemists making gunpowder and them just making shit like A-Team style on the car and doing things, and it's like a build up to the fight. And how will we do it? We could get Henry's men to help us and all this sort of stuff. So it's quite good, but then it does drag for a while. After a while, you're like, come on, the editor must have known this. But this is what I reckon there must have been a problem, and they just didn't have enough footage.
They use catapults as well, with the gunpowder in them. They blow up the skeletons. And because they're skeletons, they blow to smithereens. But then some of them climb up the walls. They're chopping their heads off. But we've got some fantastic... If you're a fan of Ray Harryhausen, you'll see some fantastic work here where there's stop-motion skeletons attacking men. And they're sort of... Especially with Bruce, he's doing some great choreography where there wouldn't have been anybody there. And then they added the stop-motion skeletons in after. And it looks really great. So it has got some redeeming bits, although it does drag on. Sheila's there. She attacks Ash and she falls into the pit. Arthur, the good guy leader, is killed.
Yep.
And then Ash and Bad Ash sort of square up. They sort of fight on the top of the tower, really. There's a really good moment where Bruce Campbell does quite a Jackie Chan move using a spear and fights a couple of guys. The stunt choreography is really good. The fight choreography is really good.
Yeah, totally.
And then Sheila grabs him. She says, "But it's me, Ash. You love me." And he goes, "Honey, you got real ugly." And I think he stabs her and throws her off the top of the castle. So that's that. He then fights.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
Using 2 swords, he fights Bad Ash. More and more skeletons, more and more stunts and explosions. The Bad Ash gets his head spun around, eyes rolling back like a cartoon. Sheila wakes up in the pit. She's still alive, and there's a truce between Arthur and Henry's men. They've defeated the Army of Darkness.
They do, and they both actually come together, and you think they're both going to have fisticuffs, and they hug each other.
Yeah. So he's united the 2 clans. He's defeated the evil of the land. He's got the woman, the love of his life, but he's still going to go home because he needs to go back to his own time. So they give him the time potion. And they say to him, you've got to have 6 drops of this. No more, no less.
Yeah, so what? He's going to fuck it up again.
So he kisses Sheila goodbye. He's escorted to a cave that he then dynamites himself in. So he landslides, so he's inside there in his car. And he's putting the drops into his mouth.
Yeah.
And some rocks fall down and he gets distracted. And he loses count.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
And the years go by while he's lying in the back of the car. So I guess it's like a potion that stops you from aging. And all the years go by and his hair grows long and his beard grows long and he wakes up and the world's ended. There's like an apocalypse, but somehow you've got like Big Ben, the Statue of Liberty, you've got everything all piled up on top of each other. And it's a bit sort of Planet of the Apes, isn't it? And he just says, "I slept too long. Oh no!"
Yeah.
And that's the end. But there is an alternative ending.
Yeah, I don't know the alternative ending.
So the alternative ending is he waits. He takes the drops. He doesn't miscount. So I've got it on VHS because I think one of them was a cinematic ending and the other one is the home video ending. I don't know which way around it is, but the ending I've got, the video I've got of this, the VHS, at the end of it, at the end credits, you get the other ending, and it's also on the DVD. And the other ending is he takes the drops, and then we just suddenly flash forward, and he's working in S-Mart again, and he's happy doing his job. He's got a new girlfriend, but then a Deadite appears in the shop, and he fights it, kills it with a shotgun, and I think he maybe uses a chainsaw again, and then he says to his girlfriend, who is what's her name, Bridget Fonda, he says, "Hail to the king, baby," and gives her a kiss. And
really?
That's the end. So it's not. I prefer the ending where he wakes up and he's fucked it because he's Ash. But there is another ending where he gets to fight a Deadite in S-Mart again. But I think I prefer the apocalyptic ending.
Yeah.
It's the better ending, I think, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, I prefer the one night. No.
But it's really strange that I love this film so much, and it's like I've said, it's probably my favourite Bruce Campbell movie, full stop. But you're right, the last 15 minutes of this are just so samey, really. It's a shame when you're watching it, listeners. You might not think that because there is so much going on. But it is just a fight that goes on and on and on and on and on, with skeletons getting exploded and chopped up, and some great stunt work and choreography and effects. But come on, I want it. It feels like they just kind of fucked it at the last act, really. And for that reason, it's like it's an 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
But if they'd have really nailed the ending, this would be like a 9 out of 10 film.
Yeah, I think there's a definite situation going on with editing, like I've said multiple times. So, yeah, I think it could be better, which is weird because of all that money put to it. But then again, having all that money might have been the issue. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But it's a great movie, and if you've not seen it, then I don't believe you, because I think any horror fan has probably seen this.
Yeah.
And it's one that kind of transcends horror, really. I think this has probably been seen by people who aren't necessarily into horror as well.
Yeah, no, this is more consumable, especially like on everyday TV. And like I said, this was on quite a lot. Like you put the telly on of an evening on a Saturday night late or whatever, and this would be on rather than the other two movies, that's for sure.
And I think what's probably good about this movie is people would have seen this, then found out it was. And that's probably why it's not called Evil Dead 3. It wouldn't have done as well.
Yeah, it's Army Darkness.
Called that.
No, it
but
wouldn't do.
I think people then might backtrack and go watch the first two Evil Dead movies. And that might get someone in, like you said, a gateway. It might get somebody into horror then.
Yeah, well, I think it's a good gateway to horror anyway. But yeah, you're right. It could be a gateway to the Evil Dead, and yeah, maybe.
But it's a showcase for Bruce Campbell's comic, the way just delivering lines, but also his physical comedy. But also, you've never seen him as heroic as you have in this movie.
No.
It's great.
Yeah.
Klaatu Barada Niktu.
Yeah, no, I think it's pretty good. Do check it out if you haven't seen it. That's for sure.
I definitely give this a thumbs up.
I'll give it a thumbs up for sure. Yeah.
Just a bit of a. That's the shit thing about reviewing films for this podcast.
You start to see the cracks.
Yeah. But I'll always go back and watch this whenever, if it's on TV, or if I just feel like a bit of Bruce Campbell, I could throw this on. It's fun. I don't need to worry so much about the ending. It's more about the beginning, isn't it? The first hour of this is fantastic.
Yeah, totally.
There we go.
Right, all right then. I guess we come for the outro.
Groovy.
And we're back again.
Back again, Groovy.
Groovy, we're back again. Thanks for coming along and listening to today's show. We've got some fun things coming up this year.
We have. That was Bruce Campbell, but let's talk about what's coming up next. Episode 175.
Yo.
It's my birthday episode.
Oh,
whoop, whoop, whoop.
Yes, exciting.
Yeah, we're covering The Substance, which is my favourite horror film in the last 25 years.
Which I actually did over the weekend while I had a chance with Sarah, because I wanted a female perspective.
So we'll be covering that, which is rare for us to cover such a new film. It only came out a year ago, or less than a year ago. And we are teaming that up with, randomly, because it's my birthday episode, talking to Bruce Lee earlier on, we'll be looking at Enter the Dragon.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. Well, good. Big fan of Enter the Dragon. That's
possibly sure. the greatest martial arts film ever made, and it was an American film, which is crazy. Because normally you'd think it would be a Chinese movie that was the greatest, but this is just so good.
Yeah.
So good. John Saxon, Jim Kelly, obviously Bruce Lee.
Oh, it's just loads of good stuff.
Some great outfits in there as well. Some great sideburns. It's good. And a soundtrack. Ooh, what a soundtrack. I've got that on CD.
Yeah.
Great stuff. So yeah, Enter the Dragon and the Substance for my birthday on the next episode. After that, episode 176 will be another patron. And our buddy RJ McCready has selected a couple of action movies.
Background of RJ, nice. I do like the old patron picks. What have we got?
We got Commando from 1985.
Oh, so good.
And another father trying to find his daughter, Liam Neeson, 2008's Taken.
Nice, so good.
So we'll be watching.
What a great double bill.
I know. And Commando especially is going to be just ridiculous to talk about. But also Taken, I haven't watched that for years actually, so it'd be fun to watch that. I think the second one was okay, but I thought the third one wasn't very good at all. But have you seen all the three Taken movies?
The third one wasn't Nobody Taken.
I can't even remember
I feel like nobody's taken in the third one. I think that was the issue I had with it.
No one's taken.
The second one was the same again. You're like, okay, cool. And the third one was like, well, who's been taken? I don't.
And then after that, episode 177.
Yeah.
It's another actor special.
Special.
This time, we'll be looking at Mr. Kevin Bacon.
Mr. Kevin Bacon, what are we doing?
We're doing Tremors from 1990.
How funny.
How fun is that going to be to discuss Tremors?
Oh, yeah.
Why haven't we covered it yet in 11 years?
I have no idea.
We'll be rectifying that. And we're teaming that up because he's done quite a few horror movies. We've covered Hollow Man. We're teaming that up with Stir of Echoes from 1999, which is a really underrated, not often talked about, but I know a lot of people love it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, cool, great. That's gonna be fun.
Yeah, and we can also talk about Kevin Bacon, the 7 Degrees of Bacon, that whole thing. But also, he's quite a lot of horror, like I said. But a very diverse actor. He's done a bit of everything: music, dance.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I can do it all.
He does enjoy doing acting. That's for
sure. And we've obviously covered him in Friday the 13th as well, as I discussed his package in that one.
Yeah, you did mention Kevin Bacon's groinal area a lot.
It did. Yeah. Well, it's a sight to behold. So that's what's coming up. My birthday, Substance, Enter the Dragon, then Commander and Taken for patron pick for RJ, and then Kevin Bacon's Tremors. Ooh,
Tremors.
Stir of Bacon.
Gives you the tremors.
He does. He gives me the stir in my echoes.
I don't know what that means.
So that's that. That's what's coming up. So before we say goodnight and goodbye, we should probably do some housekeeping.
Absolutely. Do your thing.
Do my thing, do my thing. Don't know what that is, but it is. So thank you for listening, everybody. We have been the podcast on Haunted Hill. We're on our 11th year of podcasting now. We are a proud member of Legion Podcast. I almost didn't say that then. I was meant to say something completely random. Legion Podcast Network, which we have been all this time. You can find out more about Legion if you go to legionpodcast.com. You can find all of our past episodes and all the other shows on the Legion Network. And all of their past shows as well. We're also under, we mentioned this in the intro, under the Deadbolt Media umbrella. Talk more about that in just a moment.
Yeah.
Our email address is thepodcastonhauntedhill@outlook.com if you want to find us, talk to us, ask us a question.
Talk to us.
We are friends. We're also on Facebook. We're very active on Facebook. We've got a huge community of weirdos that we love to bits. Just go on Facebook and search for the podcast on Haunted Hill. Join us. And Legion also has its own Facebook page, Legion Podcast. Join that one too. And you can get more updates on some of the other shows on the network as well on there. And wherever you listen to us now is where you can continue to listen to us. Spotify, YouTube, Podknife, Podbean, Apple, all those good places. Podcast Addict. Maybe leave us a review if you want.
If you can do, that should be good.
Yeah, or stars, or whatever it is you do these days, you kids. We're on Instagram as well, where we used to really just used it to promote the episodes and always upload a link to the episode there. Our handle is the podcast on Haunted Hill Insta. There's a fly in my face there. Let's get it out of the way. That isn't the handle, by the way.
No, that's not. That's not the handle.
Let me repeat the handle. It's the podcast on Haunted Hill Insta.
Yeah, not there's a fly Insta. There's a fly in my face.
There probably is someone's Instagram. There's a fly in my face.
Could be.
We mentioned Deadbolt Media. That is our production company, but it's bigger than that now, really. So if you go to deadboltfilms.com, you can find out more about all the features, shorts, comics, this podcast, Gav's other podcast, which is called the
High Strangers Podcast with Sarah, my dearest, who we talk the weirdness.
And please go to our YouTube channel, Deadbolt Films. You can there get a reminder for when Amanda drops later this month. This is April 2025. If you listen to us in the future, Amanda is our latest feature, which will be dropping there. There's lots more in the pipeline as we discussed, and there's lots of stuff we've done in the past. Just go to our YouTube channel, just search for Deadbolt Films.
And also Bone Idol Comics on Instagram is Deadbolt.
Affiliate.
Yeah, it's basically Deadbolt's the daddy. That's
on Instagram.
the son.
if you go to Deadbolt Films on Instagram, or one word Deadbolt Films, you'll be able to get links to everything on there, as well as updates on projects we're working on, comics and other bits and bobs on there as well. So yeah, please do that.
Like I said, got a convention coming up on the Easter weekend, basically in Farnborough in Hampshire. If you're in the UK, please come along, check it out. I think you'll like it.
It's called Horrified.
Oh, and you can come hang out with us.
I'm horrified.
You'll find us.
No one really uses that word anymore, do they? Oh, I was horrified.
No.
It's a good word. And finally, we are also part of Patreon. So if you like the show and you want to support us in a financial manner, I don't know why I said it quite like that. But
do you make it sound so official?
We would appreciate it. You don't have to do that, but for as little as £1 or $1 a month, you can become a patron. You'll get to pick a patron. So every 3 episodes, one of our patrons gets to choose the 2 movies that we're going to review, as well as tell us why they've chosen them, what they love about them. If they want, they can send us a whole email, or they can just tell us, watch these films and shut up. And we will, because they're our patrons. You also get a t-shirt, as well as exclusive access to any additional content we put out through Patreon, and sometimes we put out our episodes exclusively early for patrons as well. Yep. And you'll get a shout out at the end of every episode, which I'll do in just a moment. All you need to do is go to Patreon and search for the podcast on Haunted Hill. If you're struggling to find that, reach out to me on Facebook Messenger, or you can email us again, the podcast on Haunted Hill at outlook.com. So thank you very much to all of our patrons.
Yeah, thank you so much. We appreciate it massively.
Thank you to Dante, Don Collier, Matthew Godley, Jamie Jenkins, Kevin S. Fife, Sarah Kay, Rachel, RJ McCready, and Lex Boo. Thank you. You guys are all
thank you so
much. Groovy. And you are the kings, and we hail to you, and queens, and everything in between. So that's it, Gav. Another episode in the can. Episode 174.
Yep.
Get ready for my birthday now.
Yep.
So yeah, there we go. Thanks for coming along on the chin of Bruce Campbell.
It was good. Thanks for listening, for sure.
So it's a good night from Bruce Campbell's chin, of course.
It's a good night from a pussy dick. Ugh.
Oh, I knew you were going to go there. I just knew it. And it's a good night from a mummy who sucks your life force out of your bottom. There we go.
That's that.
So stay safe, stay groovy. Don't go in the work shed unless you're Bruce Campbell.
Don't do it.
Good night.
Goodbye. Thank you for listening to the podcast